Chapter 841. This Year's Christmas. Perhaps it's a curse. The love of a Slytherin can cause the proudest among them to fall into a quagmire, transforming arrogance into humility. Daphne departed, fearing her inability to restrain her overwhelming love for the king. She knew such an expression of love would only sadden him. The king's love should not be selfish, for it risks dragging him down, stripping him of his pride and fairness. Thus, she chose to leave, to love from a distance, to watch over the king, to watch over John Wick, surrounded by stars yet forever out of reach. This is the essence of humble love. John remained in the tower, gazing at his palms, lost in thought. In that moment, he felt a resurgence of warmth, a reminder of the human heart's beat and the flow of blood through veins, making everything seem incredibly real. He touched his cheek, where the warmth had once been, now replaced by a cold sensation. It was like midnight magic, where Cinderella transforms into a princess and dances with the prince, only for everything to revert at dawn. For John, this fleeting warmth was akin to such magic. The heartbeat slowed, calm ensued, the heater extinguished, and the moonlight faded. The magic tower stood still, its lonely space unchanged. Basil, Riddle, Hector, and Herme, they all approached, offering their warmth to the solitary king. The fireworks outside continued, their lights starkly contrasting the tower's solitude. Tom, the vigilant dog, made his way up the tower once more, spotting Basil and joyfully joining the group. He nudged Helmo aside and nestled into John's embrace. This gesture brought a semblance of warmth back to John. "Maybe we are all monsters," John whispered, embracing them. "That's why we can keep each other warm." He didn't wish to be a monster, yet the magical world of today seemed to necessitate one. John had often mocked Dumbledore, the revered figure, yet now he found himself desiring that very position. As the king of wizards, the ruler of the magical world, he understood that only monsters could instill fear in enemies, and only gods could provide solace to their followers. He was the world-destroying dragon, yet also the wizard king, a creator of new life. Gazing at the lights of countless homes, John softly wished, "Merry Christmas." In London, at Wicker House, Christmas brought another day filled with anticipation. Ariana had become more vibrant since starting school. For reasons unknown, her peers refrained from speaking ill of her, allowing her positive traits to shine through. Despite her quiet nature, her occasional displays of cuteness made her a favorite among the girls at school. The anticipation for this year's Christmas gifts was high. Watson, having prepared early, opted for a simple approach this year. Dressed in a wizard's robe and hat, he sat calmly, awaiting the festivities. The little brown bear, waking before Ariana, silently surveyed the pile of gifts, and Watson, its dark eyes betraying no emotion. Yet, Watson felt a chill and wondered aloud who had opened the window. Deciding a velvet wizard robe might offer more warmth, he went to change. In his absence, the little brown bear pondered the gifts. When Watson returned, Ariana was already awake, her golden hair sprawling beautifully. The bear, ever thoughtful, held her hair back, ensuring it wouldn't hinder her morning routine. As Ariana brushed her teeth, the bear patiently held a comb, ready to help. Ariana finished brushing her teeth, and the little brown bear had already prepared warm water for her to wash her face. After completing her morning routine, she picked up the bear, giving it a grateful kiss on its face. The bear remained stoic, though its furry feet betrayed its excitement with a slight shake. Exiting the bathroom, Ariana embraced Mrs. Wick, who returned her hug with a warm smile. Turning around, she noticed Watson, her brother, awkwardly reaching under the sofa. "Why did my gift end up under there?" he wondered aloud, puzzled since he didn't recall placing it there himself. It was only when he noticed his present was missing that he realized its location. The bear, previously shaking with excitement, now stood still, its expression unchanging and seemingly innocent. With no other option, Watson moved the sofa to retrieve his gift, insisting it be the first one opened. Inside the box was a white furry bear, a gift he was particularly proud of. Ariana, however, merely glanced at it before setting it aside, much to Watson's dismay. "Do you only like brown bears?" he thought, feeling slighted as the brown bear tumbled from Ariana's arms in the commotion, inadvertently causing the white bear in its box to be kicked aside. Watson couldn't help but wonder if it was an accident or intentional. Ariana, unfazed, continued with the other presents. Mrs. Wick's gift, a beautiful hairpin adorned with a bear pattern, brought a smile to Ariana's face, further denting Watson's pride. "Why are my gifts the least popular?" he lamented internally, questioning if it was due to sibling rivalry. Ariana's long hair, though beautiful, was sometimes a hassle, making the hairpin a thoughtful gift. As she opened more presents, it became evident that her recent enrollment in school had raised her profile, making the Christmas gifts she received an important aspect of social relationships. Among the gifts was an unusual one from her uncle, a butterfly knife with intricate designs. Mrs. Wick debated whether to confiscate it, but ultimately decided to let Ariana make her own decision. It seemed harmless enough, just a knife. However, Mrs. Wick failed to notice that the box contained more than just the knife. Hidden at the bottom were a gold revolver, 2 pink pistols, a detachable pink sniper rifle, and some bullets. Ariana was momentarily stunned by the discovery, but the little brown bear quickly took charge, stashing the box safely in its belly pocket and patting it reassuringly. Ariana approved with a thumbs up. After unwrapping all the gifts, Ariana began searching for something else. "What are you looking for?" Watson asked, curious and still hopeful about their upcoming trip to the magic world. "John's gift is missing," Ariana replied, eyeing the Christmas tree suspiciously. "Did Santa Claus take it?" "John's gift isn't here?" Watson joined in the search, suggesting, "Maybe it's under the sofa?" Together, they began their search, sticking their heads under the furniture. Meanwhile, Mrs. Wick answered the doorbell, finding neither her husband nor daughter inclined to do so. Expecting perhaps an insurance salesman, she was met with a surprise that left her momentarily speechless. Unaware of their mother's discovery, Ariana and Watson continued their search under the sofa. It was then that Ariana spotted a pair of shoes through the gap. Slowly lifting her head, she found herself face to face with an unexpected gift. A beautifully wrapped gift was placed in front of her. "Merry Christmas, Ariana," came the cheerful greeting. Ariana, unable to contain her excitement, leaped over the sofa and embraced the visitor. John, caught in her enthusiastic hug, smiled helplessly and affectionately rubbed Ariana's hair. "I thought it would be better to come back for the festival. It adds more to the atmosphere," he said with a warm smile. Watson, noticing his son's return, couldn't help but express his mock disappointment. "My trip to the wizarding world was ruined," he lamented, though the joy in his eyes betrayed his true feelings. Chapter 842, Group Photo. Watson should have been aware of his younger brother's presence in the family. His cries had once drawn Mrs. Wick's stern reprimands. This year's Christmas was a special occasion for the Wick family, a rare opportunity for them to be together. John gifted Ariana a beautiful necklace adorned with black feathers, which she adored. She joyfully spun around in front of John after he put the necklace on her, both of them smiling. Mrs. Wick summoned her family to breakfast. Despite Watson feeling a bit down about not visiting the wizarding world that year, the family enjoyed a joyful Christmas. There was an unspoken agreement among them not to mention John's time at home, as if doing so would somehow extend his stay. Ariana, eager to share her new interests with John, showed him one of her musical instruments. The sound of the saxophone filled the room, and John couldn't help but find it amusing. There's a saying that the saxophone might not be the best instrument, but it's certainly the most spirited. Ariana's earnest performance, however, lacked that typical sassiness. Watson, having been in the Wind Club in high school, showcased his skills on the saxophone, his lively performance making Mrs. Wick consider imposing a fine on him. Ariana watched in awe, pondering if she should aspire to play in such a manner. John, however, suggested that a cello might be more suited to Ariana's temperament, an instrument less frivolous. Watson, on a whim, suggested taking a family photo, claiming it odd they didn't have one at home. His real motive, though, was to try out the magical camera John had brought. Mrs. Wick supported the idea, despite John's reluctance to be photographed. Nevertheless, he agreed without hesitation. Ariana, dressed in a princess-like white gauze dress, was a bit nervous in front of the camera, clutching her teddy bear tightly. The family posed in the living room, with Ariana standing close to John, holding the bear. As the flash went off, a beautiful family photo was captured, much to Watson's satisfaction. He enthusiastically changed their positions for more photos until Mrs. Wick gently asked him to stop. Then Watson suggested taking a photo of just the siblings. Ariana eagerly agreed, and John, seeing her enthusiasm, consented. Before taking the photo, John paused to craft a jasmine wreath with his wand, placing it gently on Ariana's head. He complimented her beauty, reminiscent of a moment in Godric's Valley Stream where a blind white-haired boy had given a girl a wreath. John thanked Ariana for being his eyes, to which she responded with her most beautiful smile, gripping his hand tightly. Watson captured this tender moment, and the photo became a cherished possession for Ariana, placed beside her bed along with the family portrait. The Christmas dinner was lavish, showcasing Mrs. Wick's culinary talents. She prepared a dish of scrambled eggs with tomatoes, infusing it with Oriental romance, and a Shaxian cuisine steamed dumpling, highlighting the mysterious and renowned cooking skills of the ancient Orient. It was evident that Mrs. Wick had put great effort into the meal, which Watson thoroughly enjoyed. The meal was delightful, especially the steamed dumplings. John decided to stay at home for a few days. His loft remained tidy, prompting him to lie down on his bed. The absence of Tom and Basil rendered the room eerily quiet. Unable to sleep, he rose and approached the table. Upon opening a drawer, he found rows of sharpened pencils lying in silence. This sight sent him into a reverie. In the summer, when I was 11 years old, I thought I would become a killer, but I ended up becoming the Witch King, he mused. Holding a pencil, he reminisced about his childhood, marveling at how the magical world seemed like a dream. Who could have imagined that across the way lives a savior? The pointed end of a pencil pricked his finger, a reminder of how he once used it to intimidate other children. Despite his father's frequent school visits, John couldn't bring himself to discard the pencils. After replacing the pencil, he closed the drawer and moved to the window where an owl had once delivered his acceptance letter. Tapping his fingers against the glass produced a tinkling sound. John smiled silently, then returned to his bed and lay down, gazing at the familiar ceiling before closing his eyes to welcome a well-deserved rest. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the glass, warming his face. The snow had ceased, leaving a thick layer yet to melt. Upon waking, John felt a weight on his chest and discovered a little brown bear sitting there, seemingly beckoning him to rise. He picked up the bear and descended the stairs. Ariana was bundled up warmly, while Watson diligently shoveled snow outside. Watson's efforts redoubled upon seeing his daughter's enthusiastic cheers. Observing Ariana's vibrant demeanor, John reached out to ruffle her fluffy hair. Little Bear scurried over with a comb to tidy her locks. Initially, John considered using magic to clear the snow, but decided against it, appreciating the moment's simplicity. Inside the family's living room, Ariana, adorned with a brooch, sought John's opinion on its appearance. Noticing Ariana's growth spurt, John reflected on the Dumbledore family's tall stature, confident Ariana would follow suit. Her recovery was progressing well, and her control over the Obscurus showed promise. Although removing the Ravenclaw diadem seemed feasible, Ariana preferred wearing it, a choice John respected, believing Ravenclaw himself would have approved. However, the joy of the holidays was fleeting, and John's Christmas break ended all too soon. On the third day after his return, it was time for him to leave. Ariana, clutching the little bear, asked, "When will we see you next time?" Her eyes conveyed her reluctance to part ways. John paused, then smiled reassuringly. "Maybe soon, maybe it will take a while. I will always miss you, Ariana." With a final wave, he stepped into the open teleportation channel, leaving the warmth of family for the cold solitude of the tower. Standing in the high tower, John gazed at the eternal throne of the Witch King, contemplating its significance. Perhaps, he mused, it was time to claim his rightful place upon it. Chapter 843, Tyro's Wish at Silverhand Amusement Park. The Christmas Star Spirit event at Silverhand Amusement Park had quickly become the most anticipated event of the year. While some wizards remained unaware of its charm, those who had participated in the previous year's festivities were eagerly preparing for its return. Initially, many had dismissed the event as trivial, not taking it seriously. This oversight allowed Xenophilius Lovegood to enjoy the event undisturbed, especially since Hector had been distracted by Luna's presence. Consequently, flying teapots occasionally spotted in Yinsho Amusement Park and the surrounding alleys became a quirky business opportunity for some enterprising wizards. Despite the transformation of the former Second King into the Witch King, the event was set to continue, much to everyone's surprise. Upon arriving at Silverhand Amusement Park, the presence of two enormous star images suspended in the sky confirmed the event's return. Seizing the opportunity to make a wish, wizards began to summon their friends, determined not to miss out on capturing the elusive spirits from the previous year. Helmer and Hector were seen doing warm-up exercises under Tangmi's watchful eye. As they stretched their short legs and engaged in radio gymnastics, Tangmi advised, "Remember, we can't afford to get caught like last year. A good hiding spot might be behind Mars in the celestial body area." However, Tangmi harbored a secret hope that his girlfriend would capture the spirits, considering the potential financial benefits now that Oz was pregnant. Capturing a spirit could significantly reduce their decoration expenses with Silverhand fashion construction. Despite Tangmi's plans, Xingling proved to be far from cooperative. As soon as the event commenced, the spirited little guy dashed off, leaving Tangmi with no chance of directing him to the celestial body area. The wizards, having entered the park with their tickets, spread out like a horde of zombies, scouring the 7 major areas of Silverhand Paradise in a comprehensive search. In the flight area, broomsticks zipped across the sky with Helmer leading the charge. Meanwhile, in the plant area, Hector found amusement in watching wizards get devoured by a piranha plant, falling into the swamp below. The amusement park was alive with activity as tens of thousands of wizards engaged in a massive game of hide-and-seek with the star spirits. The animal area was in chaos with the appearance of the poison-horned beast, causing panic among the wizards. Hermo, riding a horned camel beast, looked every bit the general until a wizard's spell forced him to make a daring escape on an owl's back. Elsewhere, a group of sniffs busily pocketed shiny objects, adding to the day's excitement. In the Aurora Zone, the mesmerizing dance of the Auroras provided a stunning backdrop. A witch, cautiously advancing with her wand at the ready, failed to notice Hector observing her from beneath the golden lights. Even werewolves joined in the search, adding to the event's excitement. Tyro, along with her 2 brothers on vacation, ventured into the newly opened Ghost Zone, a place teeming with real ghosts who delighted in scaring the living. Their encounter with a long-haired witch who unnervingly turned her head 180 degrees was just one of many eerie experiences awaiting them in their quest to find the star spirit. Terrified to the point of abandoning their shoes, the trio encountered numerous frights that seemed to leap from the ground itself. Young Tyro found herself constantly vigilant, fearing something might emerge beneath her feet with every step. After being startled repeatedly, they were drenched in sweat. Severin proposed a visit to the celestial body area, a suggestion that received enthusiastic agreement from the werewolf family. Just as Tyro was about to join them, she spotted a little golden figure darting into the church near the mass graves. She hesitated, wanting to call out to her brothers, but realized she was alone. Her brothers, too frightened to notice her absence, had already fled. Left behind, Tyro had no choice but to muster her courage and follow the mysterious figure into the church. Meanwhile, her brothers, upon realizing Tyro was missing, frantically searched the Ghost Zone, visiting nearly every terrifying location in their desperate search. Physically and mentally drained, they felt as though they had been hollowed out. The Ghost Zone, with its extreme and terrifying terrain, was a place where wizards tread carefully. Helmer, making a swift passage on an owl, caught Ginny's attention. Her keen eyesight, honed from her Quidditch experience, spotted something Luna missed. Ginny, with Luna and the bent-horned Snorlax in tow, pursued Helmer with determination. Ginny's athleticism shone as she leaped across a gap, casting a spell to cushion her landing. Luna, riding the Snorlax, followed suit, though their landing was far less graceful. Unable to shake his pursuers, Helmer resorted to using his star spirit power to make a daring escape, climbing a vine into the trees. Ginny, undeterred, followed, only to be outsmarted by Helmer, who severed the vine. Despite her fall, Ginny's resolve only hardened, leading to a humorous yet tense chase through the trees. Meanwhile, in the church within the Ghost Zone, Hector, another celestial being, took delight in the fear he instilled in the wizards below. Unbeknownst to him, Tyro, silent as a kitten, was stealthily approaching. Caught off guard, Hector faced Tyro's cunning attack, resulting in a chaotic battle marked by his cries of distress. Severn and Ice, initially intent on searching the church, were stopped in their tracks by the commotion. The eerie scream convinced them to reconsider their plans. Agreeing to seek a less daunting location, they unknowingly avoided a direct encounter with the chaos unfolding within the church. In the dimly lit church, Tyro was huddled on the fragile-looking floor, with Hector trapped beneath her. With a triumphant, "Hee!" Tyro clutched the helpless Hector, raising his hands in victory, sweat glistening on his face. "Now I can make a wish." Hector, resigned and captured by the young girl, hung his head. He thought back to the last time he was caught by Xenophilius, an adult, and wondered if Helmer would laugh at him this time. After all, Tyro was too young, even for school. The Christmas spirit event, which would last until Christmas ended, had taken an amusing turn. After Hector's capture, Helmer had dashed through the commercial streets of various districts, showcasing his parkour skills, possibly as a penance for his previous misadventures. Ginny, with weeds tangled in her hair and veins bulging on her hands, picked up Helmer with a forced smile. The little troublemaker had certainly made a spectacle of himself. As the activity concluded, it was time to make a wish. Ginny, with a pen and paper in hand, jotted down her wishes. Tyro, emerging from the so-called ghost zone with Hector's flashlight guiding her, eagerly wrote her wishes on the parchment with a sense of solemnity. Tangmi approached to collect the wish lists and was taken aback by Tyro's request. "Do you really want this?" he asked, his expression a mix of surprise and confusion. Tyro, with utmost sincerity, replied, "Grandpa said that the Witch King is the best person in the world." Tangmi smiled warmly and affectionately ruffled Tyro's hair. The wish lists eventually reached John after the Christmas break. He looked at the wishes, penned in childlike handwriting, and couldn't help but smile silently to himself. A gust of wind lifted the wish lists, carrying them out into the sunlight, where their simple and innocent desires were illuminated. "I hope the Witch King will always be happy," they read, a testament to the pure-hearted wishes of the children. Chapter 844, New Year's Eve Dinner. The Christmas holidays at Hogwarts continue until the year is over, but John's vacation was notably short. Unlike his father, who had plans for New Year's Eve, John arrived early to fulfill the dreams of his people. Stepping into the sunlight, he picked up Tyro's wish list. "Happy forever?" he mused, finding the dream both greedy and extravagant. Folding the wish list, he placed it in his small bag. "Purity and innocence," he remarked. Moving on to Ginny's wish list, which surprisingly asked for a luxury decorative lamp. John paused, contemplating. It seemed even Ginny was not immune to the peculiar thought processes common among wizards, using her family's wealth for such wishes. "Then do as you wish," John whispered, igniting the wish list in his hand. Ginny and Luna had recently moved into a new home and felt something was missing from the empty ceiling. The Snorlax, struggling to fit through the narrow door, complained noisily, prompting Ginny to suggest arranging an outdoor sleeping space for it. As Luna brushed the Snorlax's fur, the house suddenly began to shake. "What happened?" Ginny, alarmed, rushed to Luna's side, wand at the ready. Luna, however, smiled serenely as she observed the ceiling where, through the blue wallpaper, a 3-story crystal chandelier began to emerge, its real crystals beautifully refracting light throughout the house. "Luxury decorative lighting," Ginny exclaimed with delight, enchanted by the chandelier's elegance. The two girls, thrilled with their new addition, invited friends over, attracting even reporters who wanted to interview the winners of the Christmas Spirit event. Ginny and Luna's joy under the radiant chandelier was captured in the Daily Prophet, sparking anticipation for next year's Christmas celestial event. As the year drew to a close, attention shifted to Bern, Switzerland, on the eve of the Millennium New Year. The city buzzed with excitement as celebrities and the elite gathered to celebrate, some seeking pleasure while others pursued lucrative deals. "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe how much business can be done here in one night," Yuri Orlov, Watson's friend, who was transitioning careers, whispered amidst the clamor. He hinted at the presence of arms dealers and other shady figures, suggesting the night's transactions could sustain a city. Watson, however, appeared disinterested, his thoughts lingering on the missed Christmas in the wizarding world. Orlov's attempt to divert Watson's attention to the supermodels was abruptly halted by a cough from Mrs. Wick, whose elegance outshone all present. Orlov, reminded of Watson's company and his own past misadventures, quickly shifted to a more businesslike demeanor. Approaching a man in a suit and glasses, Orlov greeted him warmly. "Hey, Ethan, my friend!" Ethan, caught off guard, barely recognized his friend amidst the festivities. Ethan recoiled from the warm embrace, struggling to maintain a positive demeanor towards someone who had once sold arms in his hometown. "Don't be like that, Ethan," Olaf said, sounding hurt. "I've changed careers." "What else could someone like you do?" Ethan retorted with a sneer. "Sell baby formula?" "Actually, that's a good suggestion," Olaf replied, pulling out his business card with a smile. "I still deal in arms, but not to your hometown anymore. I own a company now, and if you're in need of civilian handguns, I can offer you some." Ethan examined the business card before pocketing it. Olaf then turned to introduce Ethan to Watson, saying, "This is Dr. Ethan, a PhD in physics, proficient in multiple languages, and also highly skilled in medicine. He treated me the last time I was shot. And this is Mr. Wick, an investor. He's always looking for promising projects to support." After the introductions, a man with an oriental appearance approached, clearly acquainted with Ethan. Upon seeing him, Ethan's face lit up with a smile, and he extended his hand, greeting, "Dr. Wu." "Dr. Ethan," Wu responded. As an expert in heart disease, knowing someone like him was invaluable. Watson perked up a bit and engaged in conversation with the two. Meanwhile, Ethan noticed a playboy passing by with a beautiful woman on his arm and excused himself to approach them. Curious, Watson inquired about the playboy, to which Olaf casually replied, "He's an arms dealer." "Like you?" Watson asked. Olaf shrugged. "He's more mainstream, dealing directly with governments. Unlike me, who profits from arbitrage, he has the advantage of developing and selling his products directly to the United States. He's quite the kingpin in the industry." Watson took another look at the playboy. Mrs. Wick, feeling out of place, excused herself to the restroom, asking Watson to meet her back in their room. As Mrs. Wick left, Ethan returned with the playboy, introducing him to Dr. Wu. The playboy, displaying a lack of respect, made an inappropriate comment about his companion needing a cardiologist soon, which embarrassed and annoyed Dr. Wu. Watson, not one to get overly sentimental, felt a strong dislike for the playboy. "I don't like this guy," he admitted. "No one does," Olaf agreed. "But he's a genius. After his father's death, he significantly increased his company's value and developed many new products. We've managed to secure his services for 3 months, which should be enough to get us into Forbes." Ethan, feeling apologetic for the playboy's behavior, offered his apologies to Dr. Wu, who graciously accepted them. After exchanging contact information, Watson set off to find his wife. In the bathroom, Mrs. Wick was preparing to leave and head back to her room. As she approached the elevator, she noticed a commotion. A group of women, flaunting their beauty to catch the eye of a wealthy playboy, crowded the area. Mrs. Wick, with her noble and dignified air, stood out among them. The playboy, spotting Mrs. Wick, pushed through the crowd towards her, holding his white hat in hand. "Excuse me, beauty," he said with a flirtatious tone. "You've caught my attention. Aren't you the cover girl of this month's issue?" Mrs. Wick frowned at his approach, clearly unimpressed by his forwardness. Seeing her react this way, he assumed she was playing hard to get, a common tactic he believed supermodels employed. Edging closer to Mrs. Wick, he proposed with a tone of faux sincerity, "I mean, perhaps I could make your wish come true, by drawing attention in my bed." Mrs. Wick's gaze turned icy, filled with a lethal intent. Provoking her was akin to taunting a wolf, a surefire way to court disaster. Just as she was about to retaliate, a man with a noticeable limp approached, exclaiming, "Hi, Tony." He introduced himself with palpable excitement. "Aldridge Killian, and I'm a huge fan of yours." Killian, despite his disability, was eager to discuss potential collaboration with the playboy. Unfortunately, the playboy's taste left much to be desired. Mrs. Wick observed the exchange with a look of disdain. As the elevator reached its intended floor, the doors slid open, and a group of women exited to join a party hosted by their benefactor. The playboy couldn't resist taking a parting shot at Killian. Meanwhile, He lingered by the elevator door, taunting Mrs. Wick. "Why not give it some thought? I believe you could achieve instant fame." The expression on his burly bodyguard's face suggested this was not the first time the playboy had made such a remark. "You're approaching my wife. What is it that you want?" A voice, heavy with authority, called out from behind, causing the playboy to turn around. Watson faced him with an impassive stare. Orlov, sensing the tension, quickly averted his gaze, aware that the situation was about to escalate. Chapter 845, The Last Snow of 1999. Today marks the last day of 1999, a day that a certain playboy will never forget. He made a regrettable decision, provoking someone who held his family in high regard. This incident taught him to always inquire if the models seeking his attention were married, to avoid entangling with someone's spouse. "Is she your wife?" He realized too late that he had been flirting with a married woman. "Who are you?" he asked, noticing Orlov standing beside Watson, a hint of recognition in his eyes. "Yuri Orlov," Orlov introduced himself, attempting to pull Watson away. However, Watson resisted and addressed the playboy. "I'm sorry, Mr. Billionaire, but if you refuse to apologize to my friend, I fear there will be serious consequences." This warning went unheeded, as the playboy's arrogance blinded him to the gravity of his actions. Offering a half-hearted apology, he said, "I'm sorry, my friend, but your wife is too beautiful and attractive." With a smirk, he patted Watson on the shoulder and walked away. Orlov watched the playboy leave, feeling a sense of loss. He knew the last person who disrespected Mrs. Wick in such a manner ended up severely injured by Watson. Aware of Watson's protective nature, Orlov sighed. "That guy is influential. Are you really going to do this?" Watson nodded, prompting Orlov to inquire about the cost of the company's newly developed weapons, designed to Watson's specifications. Watson, watching the playboy wave provocatively before entering an elevator, replied calmly, "Everything." They decided not to return to their room, but to leave the premises. Orlov, resigned to Watson's decision to confront the notorious American playboy, remained silent in the car. Despite the playboy's wealth and status, Orlov knew that no amount of money could protect him from the wrath of someone like Watson. Mrs. Wick looked at her husband admiringly, understanding why he was so appealing to outsiders. In the elevator, besides the Wicks and Orlov, was Killian, who appeared nervous and frightened. Overhearing their conversation, he worried about his own safety. Orlov noticed a business card on the floor and picked it up. "Institute of Advanced Concept Mechanics?" he read aloud, showing it to Killian, who confirmed it was his. Killian feared the repercussions of his intended meeting with the playboy on the rooftop. Watson examined the card, commenting on the project's potential, while Orlov expressed his unfamiliarity with it. In a moment of impulse, driven by the day's events, Watson made a significant purchase. Meanwhile, in a magical country where snow still fell, John stood in a magic tower, observing the last snowfall of the year. Basil, Riddle, Hector, and Helmer engaged in their own activities, creating a scene of harmony. A meteor streaked across the sky, captivating the Protoss who speculated about its origins. John smiled, pondering the possibility of a star spirit's passage. In a world filled with mysteries, the existence of such beings seemed plausible, reminding everyone of the magic that surrounds them. In a world where the exiled have lived for millennia, surpassing the age of any known wizard, the enigma of Merlin persists. With several clones whose purposes remain a mystery, Merlin's presence is felt even within the secretive confines of the Department of Mysteries. As magic and technology converge, heralding a new era, those unable to adapt face obliteration. "This world is truly remarkable," John mused, examining his hand and reminiscing about a Christmas past, filled with uncertain affections and fleeting heartbeats, followed by a tranquility that delineates life from death. Desperation may have its allure, yet the endless regrets that follow one's demise can ensnare a soul for eternity. "It seems I am cowardly after all," he chuckled, gazing skyward. Beyond the chair, a tower looms, and beyond that, an invisible barrier stretches. These constructs serve both as protectors of the people and as chains that bind them. Sometimes acting on one's desires is a luxury too costly to afford. John couldn't bring himself to destroy Tyro's wish list, a testament to the purest and most beautiful dreams of childhood. These hopes, tethered to the soul, are chanted by wizards in a cycle that only extends their captivity, strengthening the chains that bind them with each prayer. A sense of loneliness flickered in John's eyes as he tightened his grip. Outside, a streak of red painted the cityscape, as a Zou dashed through a tunnel, seeking its companions. What was once bound now seeks freedom. What was free now finds itself ensnared. Grasping at the void, the sword of silver Wake materialized in his hand, its bright red gemstone as striking as blood. Tracing the blade with his fingers, he then released the hilt, allowing the sword to fall to the ground where snow and moonlight cast their glow. The blade, hot enough to melt snow, attracted the curiosity of a star spirit. Helmer, upon touching it, yelped in pain from a cut, prompting Hector to keep his distance. "You've ruined such a perfect moment," John remarked dryly, healing Helmer's wound with a wave of his wand, turning the spirit's tears into astonishment. Closing his eyes, John placed a hand on the silver-white sword, channeling magical power through the creation stone into the entire tower. The tower's exterior transformed, with golden runes enveloping its walls and a relief of a giant dragon emerging, its stone scales clashing like metal. Under John's command, 2 more stone dragons emerged, stretching into the sky. Upon opening his eyes, John tapped the Elder Wand against the locket on his chest, causing a wave of energy to emanate. The Resurrection Stone, housed within the locket, levitated onto the wand. With a gesture, 3 stone dragons, each over 100 meters tall, descended upon the tower. John breathed upon the Resurrection Stone, turning the dragons' eyes black and their scales to flesh. Uttering ancient incantations, he bound the dragons to his will. When the one who possesses this object appears, you must obey his commands. Harnessing the power of both the Magic Stone and the Resurrection Stone, John clapped his hands, sending a wave of magical energy radiating from the tower throughout the wizarding city and beyond. Golden flames burst forth, encasing a gem within. The black thread on his right hand solidified into a gem, his eyes morphing into vertical slits as a sheen of sweat appeared on his brow, signaling the profound exertion of his power. On John's forehead, another gem appeared. The 3 gems soared towards the dragons, merging into their bodies. "I bestow upon you eternal burning fire, soul-devouring darkness, and eyes that petrify all in their gaze." Each dragon received a unique magic, enhancing their mystical nature. John's magical power, now liberated from the constraints of his bloodline, allowed him to create anew. This was the ultimate transformation, augmented by the power of the Magic Stone and the Resurrection Stone. The process was arduous. After the gems were integrated into the dragons, John spread his hands, revealing 10 rings inscribed with ancient spells. These rings passed through the dragons, imprinting their essence upon them, before returning to John. He whispered into the rings, "And to you I grant a curse of profound power, one that can evoke the deepest regret." The aura of the Resurrection Stone enveloped the rings. Having completed these rites, the 3 dragons merged into a singular, majestic beast. They bowed before their king, then flew out to perch upon the magic tower's wall, where they transformed into lifelike stone sculptures. The 10 rings now rested quietly in John's hands, his eyes reflecting a complex mix of emotions. "Please allow me this one act of selfishness," he murmured. John's actions were a departure from the Witch King's principles of fairness and justice. He was here to grant certain individuals privileges that would endure eternally. Clutching the rings tightly, John turned to the awakened owl, a silent witness to his resolve. The throne of the Witch King awaited its rightful occupant. Chapter 8 and 46, The Owner of the Ring. In France, within the walls of the classically decorated Delacour Manor, which boasted a long history, a scene unfolded that was both solemn and somber. Mademoiselle Delacour began a nobleman of considerable influence in the country. This old man, with his white hair, addressed a young and beautiful woman with a level of respect that matched his stature. "My child cannot walk due to an accident," he pleaded, hope evident in his voice. "I seek a way to restore his ability to walk." Fleur Delacour, her silver hair elegantly pulled into a bun, responded with an indifferent expression. "Richard," she began, her tone light yet firm, "you have already received the magic potion from Aru." It was known that, as per the requirements set by John, every family in the wizarding world had a responsibility to aid muggles. The Delacour family, representing France, had established friendships with Muggle nobles, including Richard Arroway, a marquis whose ancestors were celebrated for their great glory. Now a significant landowner, Richard had been on the brink of death, but the Delacours had used their share of aid to keep him alive, making him their most loyal ally. However, human greed often knows no bounds, and Richard's request was driven by his youngest son's inability to walk following a car accident. "I beg you, Miss Delacour," Richard implored earnestly, his voice laden with sorrow. "My child is only 11 years old." Despite the pitiful plea, Fleur's refusal was indifferent, almost expected. "Wait until next time, Richard." Her seemingly heartless words did not breed resentment in Richard. Instead, he felt only disappointment, realizing his share of aid was insufficient. Having encountered the mysterious Delacour family, he understood the power of their magical methods. The miraculous potion that had snatched him from death's grasp was not something to be taken lightly, nor were the people who wielded such power. After Richard, the influential landowner, departed, Fleur allowed her stern facade to soften. She rubbed her face, mimicking a hamster, a bitter expression crossing her features. "It's so sad to have to do this every day," she lamented, yearning for the simple comfort of fish soup. Fleur, known for her intelligence and vivacity, especially as a competitor in the Triwizard Tournament, found it challenging to suppress her true nature and maintain an air of mystery and aloofness required in her dealings with Muggles. Just as she contemplated the future, perhaps even considering involving her sister Gabrielle in these duties once she graduated, the manor's owls began to fly about in an unusual panic. A white dot approached from the sky, growing closer until Basil, the snowy owl, landed gracefully on Fleur's outstretched arm. "Did you hit the owl again, Basil?" Fleur teased, poking the owl's head gently. Basil turned away, unamused. As Fleur stroked Basil's belly, she discovered a letter from the Wizarding City, along with a ring that fell from the owl's feathers. "Why do you have a ring on you?" Fleur asked, puzzled. Basil stared at her for a moment before taking off, leaving Fleur with more questions than answers. She opened the envelope, finding a small card inside, and as she clutched the ring in her hand, her eyes filled with a mixture of shock and sadness. "John," she whispered, the name heavy with emotion. Meanwhile, Percy Weasley and Penelope Clearwater, a couple renowned for their compatibility, had foregone a traditional honeymoon to begin their work immediately. As individuals holding significant power in the wizarding world, their lives were anything but ordinary. Second only to the Witch King, his primary concern is overseeing the big picture. The Ministry of Magic has delegated specific responsibilities to various individuals and departments to ensure smooth operations. Penello is in charge of training at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, while Barty Crouch Jr. oversees the Aurors. Reports from the Ministry of Magic's various branches are submitted to Headquarters Pew, NC In Wizard City, each area is divided into districts, with Chudai from the werewolf community managing the werewolves. This division into district leaders, based on their gathering areas, allows for self-supervision within the werewolf community, a unique arrangement. Despite the distribution of power, there are still numerous tasks that demand his attention. Mr. Weasley's role has been shifted to the Resident Quality Inspection Director of the Alchemy Department, a move designed to prevent incidents like the rice cooker explosion. As someone who has a fondness for Muggle items, Mr. Weasley is quite pleased with his new position, though Mrs. Weasley harbors some concerns. Percy and Penello, even after their marriage, remain as busy as ever with their work. One day, Percy's assistant handed him a letter, causing Percy to frown in confusion and inquire about its origin. The assistant, somewhat uncertain, mentioned it appeared to have been sent from the Owl Post Office. Percy then instructed the Ministry of Health to conduct health inspections at the Owl Post Office, following reports of contamination during food deliveries by owls, which had led to at least one wizard being hospitalized with diarrhea. Owl food delivery, a novel concept in Wizard City, has become popular as it allows for the accurate delivery of goods directly to homes. However, the hygiene practices of some owls have been called into question, especially after incidents where owls consumed part of the food meant for customers. After the assistant left, Percy opened the envelope to find a ring inside, which left him in a contemplative silence. Meanwhile, Malfoy was busy preparing for the new Quidditch season, rounding up players who had returned home. Despite finishing third last season, he demanded better performance, leading to much groaning among the players. The harsh winter conditions added to their misery, but spending Christmas with Astoria had rejuvenated Malfoy. While searching for the golden snitch during practice, a black shadow, Riddle, swooped down, snatched the snitch with one foot, and landed on Malfoy's broomstick with the other. Malfoy, caught off guard, received a letter from Riddle before the latter flew off with the snitch. In Germany, an old castle bound by chains housed Heinrich, who was engrossed in a book. This book contained magic that John had discovered in the Dark Book and the Book of Ravenclaw, deemed suitable for Heinrich. Surrounding the castle, stone figures animated by Heinrich's magic roamed, a testament to the castle's enchanted defenses. A blond man perused Edgar's wine cabinet, his gaze flitting from one bottle to the next as he deliberated on the most suitable choice for the day. The old housekeeper observed him in silence, musing on the man's familiarity with the place. He visits every 3 days. He might as well move in, he thought. Meanwhile, Ludwig was at Hogwarts, mingling with the Durmstrang students. Of the original group, only 3 remained. The old butler prepared black tea for Heinrich, who glanced up, his dark golden eyes catching the light and shimmering with a golden hue. Suddenly, a white owl shattered the window glass with a forceful kick and flew into the castle. Jin, taken aback, stared at the broken glass and couldn't resist commenting, "You could have knocked, Basil." Basil, looking defiant and clearly not accustomed to using doors, ruffled his feathers, dislodging 2 rings that rolled towards Heinrich and Jin. Heinrich's expression shifted as he picked up one of the rings, examining the inscription closely. Jin retrieved the other ring from the floor and suggested to Heinrich, "These rings appear to be a matching set." The similarity in their design was unmistakable. Jin moved closer to Heinrich, curiosity piqued. "Why don't you try it on?" he asked. Heinrich remained silent, his attention fixed on the ring. Elsewhere, Cedric awoke to find a ring on his bedside table, clearly not the engagement ring he had purchased. In the library, Astoria stumbled upon a ring nestled among the pages of a book she was browsing. Neville discovered a ring and a feather in the lunchbox Hannah had sent him. Daphne, encountering a ring that seemed to appear out of nowhere, slipped it onto her finger, brought her hand to her heart, and bowed her head in contemplation. Chapter 847, Running Zuowu. John twisted the last ring between his fingers. The darkness enveloping the tower seemed to ebb away with a hint of light as he turned the ring. 10 rings had been distributed among 9 members of the Star Club, with the Greengrass family possessing 2. These rings, John reflected, were symbols of enduring power, designed to ensure that a family's legacy would not fade. Even centuries after a family's demise, the existence of a ring could revive its fortunes. This was the final gesture of loyalty John could offer his friends. "Selfishness," John murmured, peering through the ring as if it were a portal to an unfathomable depth. His gaze was intense, the ring transforming into a gateway to an endless abyss. Outside, 2 owls returned, perching on the shelf. Tom, drawn by the scent of Basil, hurried over. Basil, having just enjoyed Hunaway's lunch, dismissively told Tom to leave. Riddle, shaking off the snowflakes, received an obsequious gesture from Helmer, who brushed the snow off him. Holding the last ring, John knew in his heart who its rightful owner should be, despite his reluctance. No one else was more fitting. He stepped outside the tower and released the ring. As it spun through the air, the scenery shifted with its rotation, finally landing delicately on a rose, stirred by the sea breeze, waiting quietly for its destined owner. With all the rings distributed, John's responsibilities were fulfilled. The new year marked a fresh beginning, the snow gradually ceasing. The wizarding city quieted down, its inhabitants engaging in festive dining and flirtations, while a werewolf counted the days to the next full moon. The city buzzed with activity, people returning to work. Lockhart's latest book remained a bestseller for 3 months, and despite his age, he once again won the Most Charming Smile Award, never ceasing to attract admirers. In the newly awakened land of the Wizard City, Zuowu stirred from its snowy slumber. Shaking off the large snowflakes, it began to run, leaving deep footprints in the snow. Its face bore a cheerful smile as it accelerated, effortlessly moving as if on flat ground. It leaped, passing through a teleportation channel, and appeared above the wizarding city. Zuowu's sizable presence elicited gasps of surprise, but it paid them no heed, swiftly making its way to the magic tower. Zuowu, with its ability to traverse space, could explore the world's every corner. It could be seen frolicking under massive waterfalls, chasing deer through dense forests, or even fishing in the sea. As the embodiment of freedom, Zuowu approached the magic tower, its long, peony-like tail swaying. It found John and affectionately rubbed against his face. John, silent, reached out to pat Zuowu's head. "I thought you had returned to the Forbidden Forest," he said. Zuowu brought gifts for John, including toys from wizard workshops and freshly caught fish. Expectantly, Zuowu looked at John, who, seeing the still lively fish, decided to feed them to Tom. Zuowu circled around John, inviting him for a ride, a journey of freedom. "Sorry, I don't think I can go," John declined gently. Zuowu's spirits dampened momentarily, but quickly rebounded. As a creature of pure freedom, Zuowu understood. He enjoys running around. The large, peony-like tail brushed against John's body, feeling like a soft cloth, which was very comforting. Zuowu leaped off the magic tower, stepping on the rooftops of houses, and ran towards the distance. "What an enviable guy," John laughed, picking up a toy sent by Zuowu. It was a Rubik's Cube, seemingly picked up from a muggle. John twisted it, but the jumbled colors wouldn't align correctly. After several attempts, he realized that someone had maliciously altered a corner. He mused that these muggles really had hidden agendas. There were also many small toys, apparently sent by Zuowu, concerned that John might get bored. Despite not being a wizard, Zuowu showed a genuine kindness towards his friends. Among the gifts were some fake wands from Weasley's Wizard Wheeze. When Tom bit into one, a rubber chicken popped out, startling him. In anger, Tom destroyed the wand. Basil, intrigued by the mice, flew down to investigate. Zuowu continued his run, like an unstoppable wind. He traveled from the Wizard City to the Forbidden Forest, where Grop eagerly awaited his friend. A huge furball was thrown, which Zuowu swiftly caught and returned to Grop's cave. Grop laughed heartily, and the unlikely duo played together in the Forbidden Forest, in perfect harmony. When Hagrid learned of Zuowu's return, he prepared a feast of dead animals for him. Students at Hogwarts occasionally spotted Zuowu running in the Forbidden Forest, his wind-like presence leaving an impression of freedom in the hearts of everyone at Hogwarts. Professor Longbottom? Students returning to school noticed Neville staring out the window, lost in thought, and expressed their concern for the respected wizard. "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine." Neville reassured them, smiling at the Gryffindor students who showed concern. "I was just thinking about something." A third-year Gryffindor girl asked curiously, "What were you thinking about?" Neville, momentarily stunned, turned to watch Zuowu running freely. "I was thinking how wonderful it would be if my friends could be this happy," he said, his voice tinged with melancholy. On his left hand, next to his wedding ring, was a golden ring adorned with mysterious runes. "I hope he can embark on a journey without saying goodbye, sometimes letting go of everything in secret." The girls exchanged puzzled looks, wondering what troubled the kind-hearted herbology professor. Only members of the Star Club understood this was a farewell, a journey they couldn't accompany their friend on, exactly as John had wished. Neville removed his badge, gently running his fingers over it. The stars within were beautiful, their patterns mesmerizing. Holding the badge, Neville reminisced about the early days of the Star Club, a time when he was the least confident among them. "Today, you can become the person you want to be," he thought. His grandmother would be proud, his parents restored, and his engagement to the girl he loved fulfilled. Everything seemed perfect. "But why did you exclude yourself, John?" Neville whispered, his fingers trembling as he carefully pinned the badge back on. They all hoped for a message from John within that badge, a secret of the Star Club and a symbol of their unity. Everyone was happy, except John, who had forgotten himself in his generosity. Neville's departure was heavy-hearted. John had taught him everything, yet none of it could save John. Entering his office, Neville gazed at the sword, gently touching it as he sighed silently. Chapter 848, Lullaby. Late at night, young children prepare for bed. One boy, full of imagination and dreams of being a brave hero defeating monsters, pesters his mother with questions. "Mom, do you think there will be monsters outside?" His mother, with a fond smile, lies beside him on the bed, leaning against the pillow, and whispers reassuringly, "There are no monsters here. We are protected by the Witch King." "Witch King?" the boy asks, a hint of doubt in his voice. "Will he always protect us?" "Yes," she replies with conviction. "Everything we have is thanks to the Witch King. He saved us and made the world a better place." Having survived the trials of Death Eaters, Saints, and Muggles, this witch, who once fought for her family's survival on Magic Crystal Island, has become a devout follower of the Witch King. She prays for him every night, grateful for the peace and security he has brought. In this new world, they live without fear of being discovered by Muggles. They freely cast spells in the streets, take their children on magic carpet rides, and receive meals delivered by owls. Wizards have their own documents and passports, recognized by all countries. They enjoy their own jobs, hospitals, and a retirement policy that ensures the well-being of elderly wizards. The Little Wizards Fund continues to protect young wizards, allowing them to pursue further knowledge while older wizards explore the world. A fertility policy even provides preferential treatment for the future. They have faced death and fear, but now, under the Witch King's protection, they live without fear. The wizards sing praises and pray for the Witch King, drawing strength from his presence. The mother gently pats her son's quilt, humming a simple yet warm lullaby about a curious boy at an old school, sorted into Slytherin for his adventurous spirit and loyalty to friends. This boy, brave and smart, makes friends across all houses, fights against evil, and protects the school. The lullaby, filled with tales of the boy's adventures, his white owl, and his loyal dog, softly lulls the boy into a dream-filled sleep. This lullaby, a tradition among wizard families, is sung to bless their children with the Witch King's protection. It is passed down through generations, just like the mother's humming. After ensuring her son is asleep, the mother kisses him on the cheek and goes downstairs, where she finds her husband nervously watching a Quidditch match on TV. In his excitement, he tries to hide his wineglass from her, a scene reminiscent of many households, whether Muggle or wizard. This same scene unfolds at the Weasley house, where Angelina and Fred, despite their pregnancies, join in the excitement of the game. The Weasley family was abuzz with excitement. Mr. Weasley exclaimed, "I knew that ball would go in," as Charlie swung his wineglass, and Ron momentarily forgot about his work obligations the following day. Amidst the noise, Mrs. Weasley stood on the stairs, her expression stern. As the new year arrived, the snow began to cease. However, the frozen lake in the park of the Wizarding City remained a popular spot for children. Spotting a business opportunity, a merchant began selling skates by the lake, turning a tidy profit. Wizards skated across the ice, while others engaged in snowball fights. Laughter filled the air as snowballs flew, occasionally interrupted by the sight of a magic carpet soaring above, or someone taking off on a broomstick for an aerial duel. A dog joined the fun, dodging snowballs with remarkable agility, even managing to lose its pursuers with a swift maneuver. Eventually, the dog ventured into the bustling streets, where passers-by greeted it warmly, some brave enough to pet it. A merchant, seeing an opportunity, offered the dog some of his finest products. The dog then made its way to the center of the Wizarding City, barking triumphantly at the foot of the towering magic tower. The door opened, and Tom returned home, snow still clinging to his face. As he ascended the stairs, the snow melted, leaving puddle as in his wake. Reaching the top, Tom found the owl asleep, and John sitting cross-legged with the throne of the Eternal Witch King behind him, motionless and with his eyes closed. Tom settled into John's arms, waiting for a reaction that never came. The next day, with John still unresponsive, Tom grew bored and restless. Attempting to communicate with Riddle, Tom received no response, which frustrated him to the point of biting the shelf, only to be met with an electric shock. Seeking companionship, Tom found Basil, who directed him to Hector and Helmer wrestling. Helmer seized the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Hector, sending him tumbling into the mud. Amidst the chaos, the discussion turned to when John might awaken, with the consensus being not anytime soon. Tom, along with two Protoss, left the magic tower, while Basil remained stationary. John continued to sit with his eyes closed, his mind active within the Palace of Thoughts. Inside, he observed the blue planet, recording the secrets of Muggle Nation's covert operations. His pupils dilated as he rapidly documented his observations, utilizing thousands of quills to inscribe the information onto the bookshelf. "It's almost time to finish spreading flowers," he thought, immersed in his work. Chapter 849, Brain Civics. The world is a place of mystery, and John finds himself in the heart of it, within his Palace of Thought. Here, he can traverse any location with a mere thought, his mind palace powered by spiritual magic. His vision, capable of covering every corner of the world down to the smallest mote of dust, serves as the foundation for his omnipresence. However, this ability comes at a cost, his undivided focus. John's brain is the sole operator of the world's most advanced surveillance system. Gazing upon the blue planet, he extends his hand, gently causing it to rotate. As it spins, he notices areas shrouded in mystery, places that remain hidden from his view. Able to isolate surveillance, he muses, pinpointing a blank space in New York, a location impervious to even the smallest particle of dust. It's clear to John that a combination of magic and technology is at work, creating a barrier even his advanced surveillance cannot penetrate. With a thought, John expands the planet until it envelops him, transporting him to the heart of New York City. Invisible to the bustling crowd, he stands in the middle of the street, cars passing through him as if he were a ghost. The experience is surreal, with the cityscape moving around him while he remains stationary. His journey takes him from Queens to Manhattan, where he encounters the mysterious empty space. To the untrained eye, it appears no different from its surroundings, yet John knows a building should occupy this space. Extending his mind towards the anomaly, he encounters a barrier that halts his advance. Squinting, he attempts to peer through it, only to be noticed by a man on the other side, dressed in peculiar attire. Someone tried to break into the temple, the man realizes, preparing for battle, despite not sensing any presence. The temple's magic had alerted him, otherwise, he would have remained oblivious to John's attempt. John, however, merely grazes the barrier without any intention of breaching it. He contemplates the possibility of a wizard or another force being responsible for this magic, likening it to the anti-apparition spell used by some reclusive wizards to avoid contact. Retreating from the scene, John returns to his thought palace in an instant. Observing the space, now cluttered with data from his explorations, he realizes it's too confined. As he expands the palace, it transforms into what he prefers to call the brain civic area, a space that can be altered at will. However, managing this expanded civic area proves to be a burden for John, who is, after all, not a deity. The area is filled with data records, magical creature sanctuaries, and even a secret laboratory where Muggle technology, ranging from fruit juicers to submarine nuclear reactors, is developed. These technologies, closely guarded secrets among nations, were easily acquired by John through the capabilities of his mind. John plans to bridge the gap between Muggles and wizards by sharing these technologies with the alchemy department. His goal is for them to transform these inventions into magic-powered technologies within the next decade. Additionally, he delves into research on various drugs, recognizing that while potions offer superior healing properties, Muggles possess certain knowledge that could prove beneficial. John's endeavors were vast, encompassing knowledge that was vastly different from what could be achieved in the present. He meticulously copied everything, yet despite the extensive efforts, only a fraction of the vast ocean of knowledge was captured. Utilizing his psychic abilities, John traversed the globe, projecting his thoughts from the east to America and then to Neon, visiting all corners where secrets lay hidden. Yet the task of monitoring everything was beyond his reach. "I need the throne of the eternal Witch King," John realized. Only with the throne could he achieve omnipresence, extending his psychic magic to cover every corner of the world. As John slowly awakened in the magic tower, a sense of exhaustion lingered in his eyes. Night had fallen. He noticed something in his arms and saw Tom, who had been sleeping there for an indeterminate time. Realizing he had spent nearly half a month in seclusion this time, John observed through his psychic vision that Basil, in his absence, had been scouring the city for the owl. Upon noticing John's awakening, Riddle, the owl, flew over, perching on Tom's head. John gently touched Riddle, apologizing for his prolonged stay. Riddle, curious, tilted its head at the sight of the Protoss climbing on John's shoulder. As Hector and Helmer resumed their quarrel, Tom awoke, feeling an unusual heaviness on his head. Struggling against Riddle's foot, he found himself unable to rise. The golden runes on Riddle's black feathers seemed to bind him like a spell. John, with a gentle motion, lifted Riddle, allowing Tom to sit up. Standing and stretching, John watched as Basil returned to the tower, carrying a feather. He beckoned Basil to his hand and stepped outside to greet the pleasant evening weather, noting the increasing number of sunny days. A warning sign by the ice lake cautioned young wizards of potential dangers while skating. Contemplating the weather, John considered it an opportune moment to ascend the throne. As he lowered his arm, Basil took flight, amusingly landing on Tom's head. Tom's attempts to dislodge Basil were futile, leading to a moment of comedic frustration before Basil finally settled on a shelf. John, with a smile, retrieved a bottle containing a bright red potion, magic blood, from his bag. Understanding that mere possession was insufficient, he prepared to harness the throne of the eternal Witch King and the magic tower's power. Opening the bottle, he then took out a neatly folded piece of parchment, pondering over the wish list. Adding magical animal blood to the potion, John observed the transformation within the magic blood. With a determined stride towards the throne of the eternal Witch King, he raised his right hand, summoning the silver Wick sword. Aiming at the vacant slot on the throne, he thrust the sword into its rightful place, signifying his claim to the throne. Chapter 850, The Eternal Solitude of the King. As the sword was thrust into the throne of the eternal Witch King, a powerful wave of magic emanated from the magic tower, dispersing the clouds above the wizard city. The sword of silver Wick, ignited with golden flames, shone like a beacon, its red magic stone gleaming brightly. The golden flames spread from the throne to the ground, engulfing the entire magic tower in a blaze of golden light. It transformed into a colossal furnace, melting away the ice and snow covering the city. Countless onlookers gazed at the illuminated magic tower, which now reflected a magnificent spectrum of colors, its walls as transparent as glass. In the Ministry of Magic, Percy stood abruptly, his sudden movement causing the table to tremble and ink to spill over his meticulously ironed clothes. However, he paid no attention to the mess. His gaze was fixed on the magic tower, his body shaking, eyes red and bloodshot, teeth clenched. The ring in his hand gradually slipped into his palm. The moment had finally arrived. The king of the Star Club had become the ruler of the entire magical world. Percy? Penello, visiting him, witnessed his transformation from calm to ferocious as he punched the table with all his might, scattering documents everywhere. "Fake!" he exclaimed. Meanwhile, Malfoy, typically the least composed, found an unusual calmness within himself today. The light from the ring in his hand filled the hall of Malfoy Manor, shining like a star. He attempted to close his fingers around it, to hide its brilliance, but the light was a testament to his best friend's sacrifice. "You pulled me from the mire, only to leap into the flames of no return," Malfoy whispered, unable to look away from the ring. Cedric, standing alone outside his home on an island near the wizarding city, saw the brilliant golden flame despite his disheveled appearance. He remained silent, ultimately sighing in resignation. At Hogwarts, the Starry Sky Cup was about to commence, a competition where Astoria would shine. She noticed the glowing ring, and while her dormitory mates gathered around in curiosity, only she understood its significance. "This is burning ashes," she thought, recognizing it as the last light given to friends by John, the person she admired most in the Star Club. Once an inconspicuous girl among stars, Astoria had become a prominent rising star, thanks to John's guidance. Fleur, having closed off her home to visitors for many days, understood the gravity of receiving the ring. "You gave us all your last tenderness," she said sadly, wishing for the first time that John had lied to her, as he did when he stole the feather of the divine talisman. The farewell was real, and no lie could disguise that. In a room illuminated by Edgar's light, reminiscent of the sun's dazzling life now burning itself out, Heinrich and Jin stood solemnly. "My king," Heinrich declared, hand on his heart. "Edgar, I will always wait for your awakening." Jin echoed the sentiment, affirming their loyalty. The king's deputies would forever follow their leader. Deep in the sea, Daphne gazed absent-mindedly at the ring. Amidst the dark seabed, the golden light from the ring shone brightly, a beacon of the sacrifice and legacy left behind. Daphne picked up the star's badge, expecting something to happen, but it remained silent. Tears silently streamed down her cheeks, like crystal-clear droplets falling into the deep sea, shattering, merging, and disappearing on the decaying deck. She didn't understand why she was crying. Perhaps it was a witch's intuition, a premonition that she might never see him again, the one who left her filled with regret. A scar in her soul seemed to tear open, stinging with every breath she took. Mr. Greengrass, witnessing his daughter's pain, asked everyone to give her space. As a father, he felt a profound sense of helplessness. "This is what I feared most for you, my daughter," he sighed deeply. The dilemma they faced was more complex than any curse. It was love. A love that couldn't be embraced if R approached. Daphne's love was trapped in a tower, her heart in an abyss, making it impossible for her to love another. The person she longed for was beyond perfect, making even their separation and closeness unbearably painful. He was neither the Dark Lord nor the White Lord, but the Witch King, revered by all. From a distance, Mr. Greengrass watched his daughter, knowing his role was to protect her. Meanwhile, in the magic tower, flames danced around the mirror-like structure. John, with his right hand covered in silver, ascended to the throne of the eternal Witch King. The golden flames eagerly awaited their master. Tom, the dog, became visibly excited, barking anxiously at John's approach. John, noticing Tom's unease, chuckled and greeted him, though he couldn't pet him due to the golden flames enveloping his body. The throne radiated an irresistible magic. "Less beating for Tom, Basil, and stop harassing the owl," John instructed Basil, who simply buried his head under his wings, seemingly indifferent. To Riddle, the long-eared owl, he said, "You're the most stable among them. Take good care of them in my absence and ensure they're not hurt." Riddle nodded, his feathers quivering. Turning to Hector and Helmer, the little star spirits, John said, "Protect the wizarding city while I'm gone. Feel free to mingle with your kind." The spirits stood under the throne's stairs, their heads bowed, lacking their usual vitality. This was their creator's last command. "We're saying goodbye," John concluded with a smile, slowly taking his seat. "Goodbye." He drank the magic blood, initiating a magical rampage. As he sat on the eternal Witch King's throne, invisible chains wrapped around his body. At that moment, he became the Witch King. His eyes transformed into vertical pupils, swirling with black, gold, and purple. Golden flames enveloped him, penetrating his skin like billions of tiny scalpels, causing intense pain that contorted his expression. The tower's flames surged towards him, then disappeared. John closed his eyes. As the story reaches its climax, a note announces the release of a new book, I Swing the Magic Wand in Marvel, thanking both new and old readers for their support. Chapter 851, Utopia, Merlin. At this moment, the Witch King's existence seemed intertwined with magic itself. Magic symbols were etched into his skin, and magical power surged into his eyes. Each heartbeat triggered a ripple in the magical forces around him. His blood had transformed into a brilliant golden hue, surpassing that of any mortal. Was he still human? John found himself grappling with this question, his mind reeling as if on the brink of collapse. His consciousness soared, transcending the magic tower, the wizarding city, the magic kingdom, and even the sky itself. He experienced a level of awareness that made everything else seem to slow down, where a second to ordinary people could stretch into days or years for him. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself outside the magic tower, in a forest shrouded in mist that gave it the appearance of a realm of the dead. This turn of events was unexpected even for John. Have I transcended the world because my spirit has been elevated? He pondered, questioning if this meant his physical demise. No, you're still alive, a voice responded. John turned toward the source of the voice, which emanated from a swamp. There, an old man with a gray beard stood on a boat, careful not to step onto land. John recognized him immediately. Merlin, he said, approaching to confirm the man's identity. Where are we? John inquired. Where is it? Merlin mused, resting his chin on the oar. You could call it Apple City, or perhaps Utopia. Utopia. Avalon? John's eyes widened at the mention of the legendary place associated with Merlin. Are you the real Merlin? He asked, finding the situation somewhat absurd. Had he ascended to his ideal land? You could say that, Merlin replied with a shrug. I'm not entirely sure myself. John couldn't help but shake his head at Merlin's demeanor. Old wizards always seem to enjoy their mysteries. All right, young Witch King, do you choose to stand here, or will you join me on a journey across the swamp? Merlin extended the invitation, adding, if you miss this chance, there won't be another. John surveyed his surroundings before stepping onto the boat, accepting Merlin's offer of what was probably the grandest welcome he had ever received. As they approached the other side of the swamp, an island emerged from the mist. Strangely, the island appeared to grow larger as they neared it. Initially, it seemed no bigger than a palm, but it expanded to the size of the wizarding city by the time they reached it. Upon landing, Merlin leaped ashore and offered John a hand. So, my arrival here was due to spiritual detachment? John revisited his earlier question, watching Merlin pluck a beautiful apple and bite into it. Why is this place significant? Because this is where all magic converges, Merlin explained, tossing an apple to John. Haven't you encountered other Merlins? They might have told you, where there is magic, there is Merlin. John mused. You are the god of magic. It's a title others have given, Merlin said with a smile, handing John an apple. You too can be Merlin. Me? John was taken aback. Yes, Merlin affirmed. You've broken the limits of magic, learned from magical creatures, and mastered the language of dragons. See, you can be Merlin as well. John struggled to grasp the concept. The idea seemed ludicrous, even to the Witch King. Could he really be Merlin? Merlin can be me, but I don't have to be that Merlin, Merlin clarified with a smile. So, you can also be Merlin. I can confirm that I am not the incarnation of Merlin, John asserted, unwilling to lose his identity. My name is John Wick. It seems you're quite fond of that name, Merlin noted, leading the way. As they ventured further, Avalon, the utopia, unfolded before John's eyes. Like the realm of the dead, this world existed independently from the original world, or perhaps it lay beyond it. Here, magic reigned supreme, with Merlin as its deity. In a world where magic exists, John found himself walking alongside Merlin, the legendary wizard. So, Merlin was born with magic? John inquired, quickening his pace to keep up. You could say that, Merlin responded, clapping his hands together. Suddenly, an oak staff appeared from thin air. But it often comes with a mission. There are also some unexpected elements, like the Gate of Things. Merlin spoke with a hint of respect. Your teacher is a great man, deserving of my admiration. The Gate of Things, he explained, is the epitome of all trading rules, a goal that alchemists spend their lives striving to understand. They arrived at their destination, a tall tower that, to John's surprise, resembled the Magic Tower. With a puzzled frown, he followed Merlin inside. There, a massive oak tree stood, growing within the tower itself, with a human-shaped hollow in its trunk. Merlin stepped forward, and the tree enveloped him, leaving only his face visible. You are the Witch King, John, Merlin stated profoundly. You possess deep magic. Why do you choose to shoulder all this alone? Because I am the Witch King, John replied. Merlin, with a wink, added, You are like Pendragon, a king. Perhaps being Merlin wouldn't be so bad for you. Sorry, John Wick. I didn't mean to be anyone else. John declined Merlin's second offer, standing firm in his identity. Merlin, as the god of magic, held the highest achievements in magical arts. Then, let me see your ideal land, he said, accepting John's decision. John raised his hand, and the Elder Wand slowly materialized in his grasp. You learn quickly, Merlin commended. John envisioned a utopia where all aspects of magic could manifest. With a wave of the Elder Wand, mist enveloped the tower, and the surroundings turned white, then blurred, revealing a blue planet before them. Merlin, still encased in the oak tree, watched with interest. What do you call this utopia? He inquired. Civil brain, John replied, glancing at Merlin. Is Avalon akin to your civil brain? Merlin didn't confirm with a nod. Instead, he surveyed the scene and sighed. Even by Merlin's standards, you are exceptional. Thank you for the compliment. But I'm curious, why do you remain within the tree? John asked. Why did you stay in your seat? Merlin countered, leading John to realize the depth of Merlin's wisdom. This world, and even this universe, operates on a set of rules, Merlin explained. Magic is merely one form of energy. So, you've merged with the oak tree to amplify this energy? John deduced, understanding that he wasn't the first to think of such a method. Let me see your world, Merlin urged, expressing a longing to witness it once more. Didn't any of your clones visit? John asked. They have their strengths and weaknesses, Merlin admitted. Even the most beautiful Avalon can become tiresome after a while. John extended his hand towards the blue planet, and everything around them became enveloped by it. A city emerged from the ocean, marking the beginning of a new chapter. The new book, I Swing the Magic Wand in Marvel, has been released. Thank you to both new and old readers for your support. Chapter 852, The Witch King, Merlin's Beard. In this extraordinary place, time seemed to be indefinitely delayed, offering a perspective as if the entire world had come to a standstill. John observed a bubble floating in the sky and reached out to touch it with his finger, running his fingers through the bubble as if testing its resilience. Beside him, Merlin extended his hand, but instead of merely touching, his fingers pierced the bubble. A hole appeared in its center, and it shattered at a pace so slow it was almost imperceptible. How did you do that? John asked, frowning. He was aware, so he couldn't penetrate the bubble. Yet, Merlin, existing in the same utopian world, could interact with objects within it. You can think of me as an anomaly that transcends this world, Merlin explained, his demeanor that of a patient teacher. Utopia is about constructing a new reality, which might exist at a lower or higher dimension than the original world. You've traveled to other worlds before, so you should understand that the power generated by the intersection of celestial bodies can connect different realms, Merlin continued. It's like a miracle, Merlin said with a smile, wiggling his fingers. Magic is precisely that kind of miracle. After a moment of thought, John stretched out 2 fingers and pinched the popped bubble. The hole that had been created sealed shut once again. Merlin, taken aback, then laughed, saying, "Ha ha! Look at you, the Witch King indeed reigns supreme." Merlin's beard, John replied with a smile, the two exchanging banter. Despite their ages spanning thousands of years, they interacted like longtime friends. You have mastered so much, Merlin observed, stroking his beard. All the forbidden knowledge you've greedily absorbed serves as your nourishment. It's all thanks to the power I wield, John demurred. Unlike Merlin, who adhered to the rules of this utopian world, John relied on his own magical power, which possibly reached level 9. With the combination of a magic rampage, a magic tower, and the eternal Witch King throne, John was on the cusp of level 9, verging on demigod status without actually being a deity. Merlin, a legendary wizard from Avalon, had not met anyone like John in a long time and admired the Witch King of the magical world. Strength is supreme, remember? Merlin reminded John. John paused, then smiled. Yes, strength is supreme. Great Merlin, I have questions that need answers, John said as they walked through the wizarding city, where time seemed frozen. About the Dragonfield, why does the icebox appear there? John voiced his confusion. The icebox was the most enigmatic object he had encountered, possessing power that far exceeded anything in this world, capable of turning the entire planet into an ice sphere. Its presence in a world where the pinnacle of power was nuclear weapons was as incongruous as a grenade in a mouse fight. Box of ice? Merlin pondered for a moment upon hearing the question. He stopped in front of a barbecue restaurant, inhaling the scent of cooking meat, and then said, "What if I told you it was a gift from the gods?" "The kind that brings death?" John inquired. Merlin shook his head. "No, it's different. Think of it as a higher form of life, akin to your own existence." Merlin looked up at the magic tower, where all the lights seemed to converge into a bright, colorful spectacle. These gods belong to different civilizations and wield immense power. You've seen the Rainbow Bridge. The energy it operates on is far beyond this world's technology. John absorbed this revelation, looking at Merlin's not-so-tall figure. "Will they come back?" he asked, pondering the implications of civilizations termed as gods and their potential return. "Who knows?" Merlin shrugged, his voice tinged with a sense of mystery. "This world is full of secrets, some of which even the gods themselves do not fully comprehend." "Longevity and power," he continued, a reflective tone in his voice. "In comparison, the lifespan of beings in the GAC world seems tragically short." "Oh, but you don't fall into that category," Merlin said, his expression turning curious. "To be honest, I'm baffled by your remarkable ability to survive. Is it 1,000 years, 2,000, or perhaps even longer?" Merlin sighed, a mix of admiration and concern in his gaze. "You possess something that countless individuals yearn for, yet it doesn't seem to bring you happiness." "I have lived too long, witnessing the cycle of birth and death," John replied, his voice devoid of emotion. "I've seen my family and friends pass away and watched as their descendants shifted from devotion to rebellion and darkness." "You fear betrayal, Witch King," Merlin said, turning to face John with a look of pity. "You are a formidable Witch King, but even the greatest among us cannot combat the fickleness of the human heart." "Yes, I fear it," John admitted, his gaze sweeping over those around him, whether they appeared young or old. "The human heart is far more treacherous than the deepest abyss. I have grown accustomed to loyalty, but history has taught me that no ruler, no matter how benevolent, can escape betrayal," he continued. He left behind 10 rings, hoping they would ensure the stability of the magical world for a century or two. However, as time marches on, those hungry for power and wealth will inevitably rise. Families like the Weasleys, Longbottoms, Greengrasses, Malfoys, Diggories, Edgars, Delacours, and Letticereys, holders of the rings, possess inherent power over other wizards. Yet, with the passing of a generation known for its camaraderie, dissent can arise. The initial unity and prosperity seen in the first generation of each dynasty are unparalleled. While history cannot provide foresight, it offers the chance to learn from past failures. John is painfully aware that he might one day be forced to destroy the lineage of a friend due to their actions. This harsh reality is something he has had to confront head-on. The role of the Witch King is to occupy that throne eternally, John mused as he and Merlin paused beneath the tower, Grindelwald's words echoing in their minds as they stepped into the shadows. To embrace the mantle of the Witch King is to accept a life of eternal solitude. Even John is uncertain of how long his life will extend. Perhaps he will outlive the Black Lagoon, only for the realm to birth a second Witch King who would claim the throne through regicide. "By the Witch King," Merlin said, his beard brushing against the oak tree's bark, "I see in you a devotion to magic that is matched only by your sense of duty to your people. You are a true king. Under your leadership, wizards will continue to thrive," Merlin praised. "You have restored magic to its former glory." "If Grindelwald were not beneath our feet, I might mistake you for him," John said, bowing slightly before extending his hand in invitation. "Please, allow me the honor of guiding you to our next destination." With a snap of his fingers, the ground beneath them shifted, and in an instant, they found themselves in another country. Chapter 853, Monster and God. 2 individuals appeared in a city, resembling old friends. Merlin, with a keen interest, observed the halted cars on the road. He reached for his oak staff and tapped it lightly, remarking, "These contraptions are amusing." "Perhaps you could find something more intriguing to focus on," John suggested, manipulating the ground beneath them. In an instant, they found themselves at a research center. To the untrained eye, it was merely a research facility, but in reality, it served as a secret strategic stronghold. The walls within were adorned with messages from wizards, and the technologies being developed there were primarily aimed at countering wizards. "Combining magic," Merlin noted, observing a magic crystal being analyzed by a machine. "You're broadening the scope of magic's influence." "Magic and technology represent one of the paths to the future," John explained, scanning the technologies around them. The structures of these technologies materialized in his mind, and he conjured a weapon that embodied both magic and technology. A weapon that relies on magic for its operation. When magic becomes a cornerstone of the world's functionality, the few wizards will be deemed invaluable, John remarked, attempting to activate the weapon. However, the weapon malfunctioned, and the magic crystal within it detonated. The explosion's energy vanished in his hand, and John casually mentioned, "I can also harness these technologies to enhance the magical power technology of the Magic Kingdom." Utilizing these individuals for your own gain, Merlin commended John's strategy. "It's unjust, but it's the correct approach." Unjust, yet correct. This encapsulated John's guiding principle. He wasn't driven by a quest for justice, but by what he deemed right. He was willing to protect wizards from oppression by muggles, even if it meant the lives of thousands of muggles. By this measure, John's actions surpassed those of the 10 most nefarious dark wizards combined. To muggles, he was far from a kind ruler or a benevolent deity. He was a monster capable of bringing nations to their knees, championing only the cause of wizards. From the perspective of muggles, he might be seen as a ruthless usurper. Unlike Dumbledore and other morally upright wizards, John was unbound by conventional morality. Merlin, too, was not a paragon of righteousness. His renown stemmed from his formidable magical prowess and contributions to the magical world, earning him the title of the God of Magic. Like the Witch King, he sought power and pursued truth. John and Merlin traveled the world together, moving through a realm where time, as governed by brain civics, differed from the external world. They wandered in a timeless suspension, a moment that could potentially last forever. Their journey eventually led them to Cornwall, where Merlin, enveloped by oak trees, displayed a sense of nostalgia for his homeland. He had left behind a legacy in this world, and now, returning amidst the oak trees, he found everything changed except for the legends of King Arthur and himself. John lifted his hand, and they ascended into the sky. The planet shrank beneath them until they re-emerged in the brain, a vast expanse of endless whiteness resembling a hazy dreamland. This place, though lacking the maturity and grandeur of the legendary Avalon, held its own charm. Although it's somewhat belated, it's a pleasure to meet you, Merlin, John said, extending his hand with a smile. The feeling is mutual, Great Witch King John, Merlin responded, extending his hand from beneath the oak. Their hands met in a firm grasp. Magic is remarkable, isn't it? Merlin mused with a slight smile. Pursuing it is akin to embarking on an endless adventure, full of fascination. I must also thank you. You've allowed me to revisit my homeland. Though I cannot kiss its soil, you've enabled me to witness its transformed landscape, Merlin expressed, his body gradually dissolving into specks of light. Great Witch King, King, do not rush into the darkness of loneliness. Merlin's voice echoed from the vast expanse of the universe. Embrace your imperfections and savor the wonders of this world for a while. With the methods at your disposal, akin to your ability to seize the icebox, the miracles of magic will forever be within your reach. The golden light vanished from his mind. John was certain Merlin had returned to Avalon, a mystical place accessible only through magic. For John, his ideal haven was this pure, white expanse, devoid of sky. I am the king, John whispered to himself, gazing at the distant blue planet. I am a monster. I am a god. Who am I? The name John Wick crossed his mind, but he did not dwell on it. His consciousness was in turmoil, blurred and shaking. A roar escaped him as dark energy surged in his eyes. The golden flame that enveloped John's body felt like billions of fine, precise scalpels piercing through him. His heart seared with the flames, and the magic binding him to the throne of the eternal Witch King enveloped him completely. A wild surge of magic, amplified by the magic tower, coursed through him. John's eyes opened, revealing a mesmerizing blend of black, gold, and purple hues, imbuing his gaze with an otherworldly magic. Despite the intense pain in his brain, his senses were razor-sharp, attuned to every nuance of pain, from the tiniest speck of dust to the farthest reaches of the mist. With a mere thought, John could uproot cities, his body alone capable of withstanding the immense magical power that could pierce the earth's core. Golden runes illuminated the sword-like magic tower. The surging magical power formed a bridge that soared through the clouds to an unknown realm. John had reached level 9 magic, a realm close to that of the gods, surpassing the limit of level 7 for wizards and even his previous standing at level 8. Mortal bodies were not meant to wield the power of gods. His body, once indestructible, even by nuclear bombs, now showed signs of breaking apart, like fragile porcelain, with golden blood seeping from every wound. This golden blood bathed John in a radiant light, making him shine like the sun and illuminating the entire magic kingdom. Amidst this golden radiance, only his tri-colored eyes remained visible. With great effort, John grasped the Elder Wand and raised it. In the name of the Witch King, he declared with gravity, I bless my people. Praise the name of the Witch King and receive the protection of the Witch King. No matter where you are, the gaze of the Witch King will be upon you. As the spell was cast, the purple hue in his eyes faded. This powerful magic bestowed a blessing upon every wizard, a stark contrast to the belief that Voldemort had cursed his name to track anyone who uttered it. John's magic was different. By simply praising the Witch King, wizards could make their presence known to him and even draw some energy from it. This spell enveloped wizards worldwide, allowing John to be aware of their predicaments. He was on his way to becoming the omnipotent Witch King in the magical world. Unable to make himself truly omnipotent, he instead extended his consciousness to touch every wizard, effectively dividing his awareness among them. Chapter 854, To Those Who Are Always Awake. John's wounds healed rapidly, his metabolism far surpassing that of a typical wizard. Wizards already possess a superior physique compared to ordinary humans, but John's physical capabilities exceeded even theirs. This disparity in life levels, as Merlin had described, suggested that perhaps only civilizations revered as gods could match his robustness. His vitality stemmed from an endlessly energetic body, ensuring that he would not succumb to aging like a wizard. Even centuries into the future, John would retain a vigorous body and potent magical power, which would only grow stronger with time. Eventually, he would surpass the threshold of level 8, entering the realm of the divine. At that juncture, he could either journey to Avalon or employ brain civics to forge his own Avalon. The immense magical power thrilled the Elder Wand, an artifact of divine creation. John speculated that the god of death who crafted it might possess power comparable to Merlin's. The god who had bargained with him had already disclosed his identity, revealing that he was not the god of death among the three brothers. John understood the true nature of this entity, as well as the concept of death itself. The world was filled with innumerable mysteries, with wizards being just one aspect. The purple hue faded from John's eyes as his magical frenzy subsided, yet he compelled it to persist. Only his current state could sustain the use of a particular spell. "I'm going to cast a curse on myself," John declared, gripping the silver Wick sword in his right hand, its bright red magic stone glowing intensely. The throne of the eternal Witch King, sanctified by 2 magic stones, served as the vessel for this power. The countless sands of time, combined with golden blood, formed a cage. The eternal flame pierced his body, igniting his magical power and arresting its flow. A chill burst from his chest, and John's eyes shimmered with a blend of blue and gold. The subtle blue persisted, and white frost enveloped his body and throne. The eternal flame blazed within the ice, burning fiercely. John's mind focused as he silently uttered his true name, Wotan. Amidst the intertwining blue, the stars above were drawn toward the magic tower. The night sky over the magic kingdom was devoid of stars, replaced by those congregating around the tower. Chaos particles vibrated intensely as John held the sword's hilt firmly. The alchemy department and the potions department on the opposite side of the wizarding city illuminated simultaneously. A Mobius strip from the alchemy department instantly enveloped the city, and a secret chamber within the potions department, unknown even to Damo Alex, began producing a golden potion in vast quantities, amassing to the size of a swimming pool. The potions department acted as a conduit, transforming the potions into a golden mist that enveloped the entire city. The amassed star power descended, interacting with the chaotic particles to create a spectrum of colors, a rainbow bridge. This phenomenon represented the pinnacle of magic. The magic unleashed during the Battle of Hogwarts had been sufficient to annihilate all the Inferi in the Black Lake, but this rainbow bridge was of an entirely different magnitude. The magic tower, enveloped in rainbow hues, absorbed the tremendous magical power. The colored glass of the tower focused all light into John's body, causing his magical power to surge and his body to occasionally burst, only to heal swiftly thereafter. The ice encasing the throne melted away, revealing a mysterious pattern of lines and circles. "Land of Eternity," intoned the Witch King in an ancient and obscure voice, as if making a universal declaration. The immense force generated by the Rainbow Bridge nearly brought the wizarding city to its knees. In the cycle of the Mobius strip, all that was broken has been mended. Half of the golden potions in the potions department vanished without a trace. Throughout the entire wizarding city, not a single soul was harmed. John, with the Elder Wand lowered, sat upon the throne of the eternal Witch King, a sword in his right hand and a staff in his left. His body radiated light, and flames danced behind him. In the magic tower, ice formed while thunder and lightning wove through it. John delved into his mind once more. In a world of pure white, lightning danced and dark matter lingered, each existing independently. Purple morphed into a sword, gold into a crown, blue into a box, and silver into an albatross. With the wand in hand, John observed these creations, bound to him by an unseen force. The dark matter, drawn to the blue planet, radiated a palpable greed. The lightning was wild and untamed. The sword possessed the power to obliterate all in its path, while the golden crown wandered through dreams. The blue box awaited a frozen apocalypse, and the albatross, the most ordinary of these powers, looked to John, awaiting his decision. These were the Witch King's most faithful allies and his greatest adversaries. John grasped the crown and seized the lightning, examining the object in his grasp. The lightning struggled, seeking freedom, but was securely held. By donning the crown, he would become the master of minds. Capturing the lightning would grant him the power of speed and tempests. Within the dark matter, magical entanglements swirled, and a black dragon unfurled its wings. The albatross soared and then descended gently. John transformed into silver and approached his core, his gaze fixed on the object in his hand. "Let me come," Silver John said, his eyes locked on the crown. Without a word, John raised the crown. Silver John bowed his head, accepting his fate like a king being crowned. "I hereby bless you," John began, slowly placing the crown upon his head in a moment that felt like the culmination of an epic. "You will be deprived of the ability to sleep, with only wakefulness as your companion in this life. You cannot dream, for you are the dream itself, long and tedious. You cannot be merely awake, for you embody wakefulness. You are darkness amidst light, and light within darkness. Unpredictable, you remain unembraced. You are a sleepwalker with 3 heads, forever contemplating the past and the future in your dreams." This was a necessity for John. The existence of the Witch King, ever responsive to the wizarding world, was crucial. The realm of imagination teetered between being and non-being. A dream could either destroy the world or pull everyone into its depths. To be awake within a dream meant never being able to sleep, a blessing spoken as a cruel curse. The recipient of this harsh fate was John, or rather, a part of him. Upon wearing the crown, Silver John's body gradually turned golden. The birth of the sleepwalker signified the rise of the administrator of the mind's civic realm. The restless entities calmed. John looked once more at his creations, his wand in hand, Merlin's words echoing in his mind. Approaching the dark matter, he seized it, drew the purple sword, and cleaved through it, separating a portion. He combined this piece with the lightning, opened the blue box, and cast it inside. Holding the box and the wand, he addressed the sleepwalker. "From now on, this place is yours. Goodbye, ever wakeful one." It was a pity that he could no longer remember the glories of the past, destined only to awaken in the future. It will be completed tomorrow. Chapter 855, One Body, 3 Beings. John shed a part of himself and transformed into Civic. Even the Witch King cannot always keep watch over the world. Sometimes, imperfection is a blessing, John mused as he observed the transformation of the brain. The Lord of Dreams, wielding no wand, donned a crown, and like a conductor, orchestrated changes in the world with mere gestures. A single blade of grass emerged from the expanding brain, symbolizing both life and a wizard's aspirations. John ceased his observation, his form gradually fading from view. "Witch King, perhaps one day you'll harbor regrets," the Lord of Dreams intoned, "for we are one and the same." John nodded, a chuckle escaping him. "When that day comes, we shall meet again." The Lord of Dreams turned away, offering no response, poised to embark on a long, unending journey. The beauty of the blue planet was undeniable, yet it was also a breeding ground for innumerable evils. Farewell, Witch King. Ding, the magic bloodline has concluded. You have received the blessings of the rune snake, 3 songs, gaze, growth, and sleepwalking. 3 songs allows for the separation of consciousness from the soul. Gaze enhances the ability to reveal and decipher knowledge. Growth ensures continuous development until life's end. Sleepwalking enables travel within dreams. With the conclusion of the 9th magic bloodline, The potent magical energy within John's body roiled like turbulent magma. He contemplated the three blessings, his consciousness now distinct from his soul. The rune snake, an entity of ancient origin, is known for its immortality, not because they are harmonious, but because their internal conflicts often lead to their demise. To exist as three beings within one body is both the tragedy and the uniqueness of the rune snake. John sat upon his throne, a place where ice and fire coexisted in a perpetual struggle. Below the magic tower, those loyal to the Witch King gazed upwards at its glowing apex. In Percy's office, with a clear view of the magic tower, a sense of calm finally settled over him. The ring had rolled into a corner, and the once orderly office was now in disarray. Penello approached her husband, understanding that silence was what he needed most. She leaned on Percy's shoulder, and together they watched the radiant tower through the window. "What is that?" she whispered. Percy, embracing his wife, was reluctant to answer. The brilliance of the tower reflected in his eyes. "From now on, the Magic Kingdom will have 2 sons," he finally said. Their king's glory would continue to illuminate his people, but at what cost to his friends? Percy remained silent, standing there with his wife, lost in thought. The light from the ring gradually faded as the man who belonged to the stars sacrificed himself, becoming a son to generously share his light with all. In this moment, Malfoy was as silent as a puppet, his thumb repeatedly tracing the runes on the ring, now seemingly etched into his skin. He stopped, slowly sliding the ring onto his finger. "It fits well," he remarked, a trace of self-deprecation, or perhaps a smile, playing at the corner of his mouth. "I've always wanted to try something like this." Every time Malfoy had observed John performing this gesture, he understood the thoughts behind it. John's habits had been laid bare for all to see. Malfoy had once secretly mimicked John, pondering over a ring, but it never felt as natural when John did it. Over time, he ceased his attempts, until today, when he finally grasped why John's actions had seemed so effortless. They were the result of countless sacrifices. Looking up, Malfoy saw the worried expressions of his parents. The pain in his mother's eyes was heart-wrenching. Suddenly, the weight of responsibility seemed to fall upon his shoulders, and Malfoy felt as though he had matured overnight. "I'm fine, Mom," he assured her, walking towards her. He was no longer the child who sought refuge in his parents' embrace. Now taller than his mother, he eloped her in a hug, signaling his transition into adulthood. Narcissa understood the significance of the Witch King to her son. Lucius placed a hand on his son's shoulder, a silent exchange of words passing between them. "I'm just going to miss him," Malfoy whispered. "I miss him very much. Like John, I have to take responsibility." The wizards were curious and surprised by the sudden changes they experienced, unaware of what the light meant, or that they might never see the Witch King again. For a brief moment, they felt as if they were on the brink of death, and the city was on the verge of destruction. They attributed the visions in the sky to the greatness of the Witch King, praising him for the powerful magic and infinite miracles he was known for. Their Witch King, capable of protecting the wizards, was celebrated amidst cheers at the sight of the light. A child made a peculiar discovery. The bubbles he blew from the Sir Bubbles candy, purchased from Weasley's wizard wheezes, seemed to shrink. He stared at them, puzzled. In the magic tower, events were drawing to a close. Tom sat beneath the magnificent throne, dazzled by its splendor. Nearby, Basil, the Protoss, flapped its wings and landed gently on the dog's head, avoiding Tom this time. Riddle, with his large black eyes narrowed, stood next to the Protoss. John examined the wand in his hand, contemplating, "Maybe it's better not to be perfect, just let it be selfish on my part." With that thought, the Holy Grail potions stored in the potions department began to swirl, forming a vortex that absorbed all the potion. Atop the magic tower, golden potions converged into a smooth, jelly-like ball. All the small creatures looked up in awe. John raised his left hand, and in front of the Elder Wand, a blue box materialized. Lines and circles expanded from the square mark on his chest, enveloping his body and extending toward the wand. Behind him, a sacred tree woven with countless truths began to grow, filling the space and extending its branches into the golden potion, resembling a golden apple hanging from a tree of truth. "I give you life, my consciousness, my soul," John declared. "I give you a name, bloodline, and body. You are a new life, the successor of the 9 bloodlines, and the bearer of a free soul. The blue box moved closer to the golden potion, which pulsed with a powerful vitality, beating like a heart as the rhythm of life commenced. John's voice echoed, as if speaking from the past to the future. I will grant you supreme knowledge and the alchemy of ancient and modern times. I will bestow upon you powerful magic, the strength to defeat the 3 demon kings. I give you the flame of nirvana, the ancient transcendence beyond life and death. His eyes transformed, with the right filled with darkness and lightning, and the left with light and time. You will walk in darkness and bathe in light. You will control thunder and lightning, commanding storms and instilling fear. You can bring disaster, but also rebirth. You are both the creator and the destroyer, the new life and the deceased Witch King. John paused, and the darkness in his right eye gradually lightened, signaling the dawn of something new and profound. Chapter 856. Goodbye, John. You possess the courage to explore, the speed to traverse mountains, seas, and universes. You hold the wisdom to unravel mysteries and a curiosity that knows no bounds. You have the tolerance to embrace friends and the selfishness to love only your family. As time passed, the once vibrant black hair turned to gray, a symbol of life's inevitable decline. John came to a halt. The box had been placed within the golden apple. Lowering his wand, he felt the power of the eternal Witch King's throne coursing through him. You're not perfect, he whispered, but you're real. He pointed the wand at his own head and closed his eyes. A sliver of his soul was gently extracted by the elder wand. With a mere flick, this fragment of soul began its slow journey towards the golden hue, carried by an unseen breeze. This was my imperfect soul. It encapsulated the thrill and curiosity of receiving that letter at the age of 11, the anger and helplessness upon being derided as a mudblood, the sorrow and despair that death brings. It included the awe at the Christmas ball, the lofty ambitions shared within the Star Club, feelings of powerlessness, longing, solitude, and guilt. This was my essence, my soul, my life. A single tear, or was it blood, trickled from the corner of John's left eye, merging with his soul on its path to the golden apple. When he opened his eyes, only the left one remained clear. He sighed softly. You're a Slytherin, the king of the magical world, Watson Wake's child, his pride, Natasha Jovanovich's offspring, the pride of the Jovanovich lineage, Ariana Wyke's brother, the unseen guardian of Godric's Hollow. You are the stars, a reminder of your friends, the Witch King, protector of your people. With a hint of envy and longing, John murmured, John Wick. The figure within the golden apple took form, its heart illuminated by a flash of blue light, growing from infancy, unadorned by any garment. As John's consciousness began to fade, his gaze lingered on the forming golden apple. You are me, the past me, the future me, he said, his voice growing fainter. Yet, you are not me, not who I am now. The ruined snake with 3 heads, the sleepwalkers who wander through dreams yet remain aware, the planners trapped by their own designs, and the critics who yearn for freedom. All these facets criticized and cursed John Wick's greatness and selfishness. He was free, liberated from the confines of dreams and thrones, becoming the true John Wick. This new life would take time to unfold, to awaken from the final dream with a freedom neither John had known. Not a black dragon of destruction, nor a golden dragon of protection, but an albatross, soaring freely to any destination, free to ride the winds, to explore the seas. The Witch King fell into a deep, dreamless slumber, his dreams gifted to his people. Encased in ice and fire, he became a beacon of magic's might, a shield and sword for all wizards, and a nightmare for their foes. This was the world's greatest magic, known henceforth as the Great Witch King. In the magic tower, Tom whimpered, laying down with his tail gently swaying, resting his head on the Witch King's foot. The hands that once offered warmth now wielded the sword of power and intimidation. The elder wand slipped from his grasp, tumbling down the steps, followed by the silver ring slipping from his slender fingers. John fell asleep, embracing the happiness and sorrows of his journey. Smiling like everyone else, he was also angry at his own powerlessness. In the mirror of Erised, he saw himself with honor and strength, surrounded by loved ones and delicious food. He fell asleep, embodying the perfect Witch King, but the imperfect John Wick. He was one step closer to understanding his own heart and being with the girl whose eyes followed him. He would wake up in a world where no one knew John Wick. The voices praising the Witch King echoed worldwide. They recognized only the Witch King. The magic tower stood as a place of eternal cold and light, its door sealed shut by blue ice crystals. In the distant deep sea, as the light vanished, Daphne couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She wept, her tears mingling with the sea. The dark depths could not convey her thoughts. Her love was imprisoned in the tower. Yet, wasn't she also trapped in the tower? That Christmas night under the moon, their shared Merry Christmas, was both the greatest gift and the greatest regret. She touched her heart, finding it empty. Her heart had been left behind in the high tower, leaving her just a shell, incapable of love. Love is grand, love is restrained. But it shouldn't be this way. Love is selfish. Love is madness. Without you, I would flood the world with seawater. The selfish Slytherin would be buried in the deep sea, madness notwithstanding. What bound them was neither the shackles of a prison nor their status, but that moment, that responsibility. The cowardly Slytherin lacked the courage to watch his love die in his arms, so he chose to sleep. Just like me, lacking the courage to approach the tower again. That version of me would become a madwoman, attempting to blow open the ice-sealed door. Big tears broke in the deep sea, and as the seawater flooded everything beneath the tower, my thoughts floated on the water. "Can you wake up?" She cried for a long time, until all her emotions were spent. The girl who stole a kiss in the valley fell asleep with her sleeping lover. Mr. Greengrass took his sleeping daughter away, his sighs mingling with Whale Luo's sad sorrow. Love is like poison, killing both body and mind. My daughter, go to sleep. Hope is the medicine, clinging to your dying soul. Every time you blink, you hope that the next time you open your eyes, the one you love will be right in front of you. The first decade of the Magic Kingdom saw the wizarding world experiencing population growth. Under the policies of Headmaster Percy Weasley, wizards enjoyed many benefits, reduced burdens, were provided with most employment opportunities, and promoted economic development. The population of the Wizarding City exceeded 50, and the population of the magical world surpassed 1 million. The Magic Kingdom's land expanded, and 9 areas were divided to reorganize the city. Silver Wolf Magic School participated in the school-level league, securing the 3rd and 5th places in the Starry Sky Cup. The Magic University, with more than 1,000 students, supplied increasingly outstanding talents to the magical society. In the top Wizarding League, Puddlemere United won its first 3 consecutive championships, becoming the first team in history to do so. Seeker Draco Malfoy was named the most valuable player. The headmaster of Hogwarts changed, with Professor McGonagall succeeding the legendary headmaster Slughorn, and Neville Longbottom becoming head of Gryffindor. Percy Weasley's first child, the eldest of 4, a little wizard who would start school the following year, looked up at the tower emitting light. Little Weasley asked his father, "What is that?" "That's right." Percy, now with a beard, looked up at the tower. "My friend." In the magic tower, there was a sound like jelly breaking. A hand picked up the wand and ring lying quietly on the ground. A familiar voice whispered to the sleeping king, "Goodbye, John." The scattering of flowers, the loneliness of the Witch King, the regret of the Witch King, and the Witch King's attachment. John cherished the idea of turning back time, longing to return to his former self before he ascended to the throne. Her yearned to revisit that equally mysterious and enigmatic world, to once again bestow glory upon it. The title he chose for his journey was I Swing the Magic Wand in Marvel, a testament to his unique approach to naming his adventures. Chapter 857, The Shadow Under the Tower, the Isolated Island in the Sea. A year had passed since the emergence of the Second Sun, an event marked by a duel that symbolized the pinnacle of wizardry. The aftermath of that confrontation had gradually diminished, leaving behind an island, once destroyed, now drifting alone on the ocean. Nurmengard, its ruins beginning to bloom once more, stood partially illuminated by the sun's rays. A red-haired man, clad in thin white garments, approached the shore with a homemade fishing rod in hand. As fish leaped from the sea, connecting with the hook, he contemplated the simplicity and tranquility of his new life. Dumbledore, utilizing the eternal flame left on the island, cooked his meals. He conjured a clear spring from which to drink and admired the newly blossomed rose, now delicate and beautiful. His thoughts often wandered to Hogwarts, the place he held dearest. His life had been intertwined with the school, transitioning from student to professor and eventually to headmaster. He had encountered many individuals, some who became pillars of the magical community like Minerva, and others who strayed into darkness like Tom. These were his students, whom he believed he had always treated with a selfless and tolerant heart. However, it wasn't until he was removed from his position that he confronted his own biases. The memory of a student wearing a silver mask haunted him. Dumbledore knew the face hidden beneath, but it was the disappointment that mask concealed which troubled him. The failure to guide Voldemort had instilled in him a subconscious fear of the ambitious Slytherins. He recognized his bias, a realization that pained him. He wanted to offer an explanation, but found himself unable to articulate his fears, not just of Slytherin's ambition, but of the people he had encountered throughout his life. Love is great, Dumbledore mused, gazing at the rose bathed in the morning sun, its petals a delicate shade of red, reminiscent of his family's crest. Love is also a restraint, he reflected, touching the petals lightly. The beautiful rose, adorned with sharp thorns, served as a reminder that blind, fervent love could cause pain. Only a gentle, cautious touch could bring mutual satisfaction. The ring hidden within the flower's stamen tempted all who beheld it, symbolizing greed, madness, and power. Dumbledore, however, never succumbed to its allure. Exiled and bearing witness to the consequences of power, he sensed a certain respect from the child who had spared him, a respect born from a soft heart. "It's not me you wish to destroy, but the version of me within your heart," Dumbledore said, his eyes filled with sorrow. He recognized the burden that had been placed on the child from a young age, a burden he inadvertently contributed to. The realization that he, not the child, had changed weighed heavily on him. "You are such a fool, Albus," he lamented, his heart heavy with sadness. As a phoenix soared across the sky, scattering seeds that brought life to the barren island, Dumbledore found solace in his solitude. He prayed daily for the Witch King, acknowledging the harm his past mistakes had inflicted upon the magical world. The phoenix's song, one of Dumbledore's few joys, was a reminder of his punishment. Uncertain of how long he would remain in exile, he pondered the kindness of meeting his end alongside Grindelwald. In facing death, he had embraced it with the dignity of a martyr. Now, spared from death's embrace, he contemplated his existence and the choices that had led him to this isolated island. Beneath the brightest tower, the scenery changes with the passing of each noon. Shadows cast by the tower reveal a world of contrasts, darkness intertwined with light, a place devoid of hunger and dust, yet filled with an unending loneliness, and a static existence that remains forever out of reach. In this shadow, a solitary figure dwells, devoid of hope, akin to a slumbering king whose reign knows no end. Though his thoughts reach for what lies beyond, it remains unseen. Grindelwald, the man beneath the tower, once dreamt of a phoenix emerging from the shadows, a symbol of faith and a beacon for those with purpose. Countless times he awaited the phoenix's fiery embrace in his darkened world, a wait that proved futile. This isolation was his punishment, decreed by the Witch King, severing him from all he knew. Trapped between hope and despair, Grindelwald's mind, though not of Slytherin, harbored a paranoia characteristic of one. He once viewed the world as diseased and took it upon himself to be its surgeon. Now, he sees the sickness within himself. Time's passage eludes him in his solitude, where he oscillates between longing for death and fearing it. A year prior, a smile graced his face, believing in his victory as a sliver of light, warm and bright as the sun, pierced the shadows. Yet he dared not touch it, for his pale skin felt as though even this faint light could burn him. After the light, the loneliness persisted. Grindelwald found solace on a throne of his own making, reminiscent of the one he crafted for the Witch King. There, he whispered to himself, questioning the severity of his situation. Once imprisoned in a high tower, he now wonders how this current exile differs. Thus, he clings to his arrogance, his charm undiminished even in isolation. He entertains himself by testing the limits of his world and experimenting with wandless spells, seeking to disrupt his surroundings. Each day at noon, when the shadow of the magic tower is at its deepest, Grindelwald stands at its edge, observing. Yet he knows some magics, like the Phoenix's return, cannot breach this place. The only difference is that I don't get your letters anymore, Al, he muses, holding on to the last letter, a feather, a token from the Phoenix. In the absence of stars, the only light comes from the darkness kindled by the Witch King himself. Grindelwald, embracing his punishment, smiles wickedly, resigned to a fate of eternal darkness, unreachable by death or light, forever alone. Keep me unable to die, unable to see the light, and forever lonely, he declares, accepting the Witch King's decree. Meanwhile, Dumbledore, on an isolated island, listens to the ethereal calls of whales, wishing Grindelwald could share in this freedom, as they once dreamed. But in the shadow beneath the tower, only silence prevails. Despite this, they both look up, momentarily connected by a shared sentiment. Perhaps love can indeed transcend all. Yet this fleeting connection only deepens the sorrow of their separation. The more Grindelwald longs for Dumbledore, the more acute his suffering becomes. Yet he cannot cease his admiration for the Witch King, the architect of their envisioned magical world, a world they, as relics of a bygone era, will never see flourish with wizarding freedom. In this tale of unyielding punishment, the Witch King's mercy is a cruel gift, withholding both death and liberation, leaving Grindelwald to endure an eternity of solitude and yearning. In body and mind, it binds both noble and selfish souls. As an additional note, there are a few more articles about the stars that will be shared later. However, the dates for these postings will be random. Chapter 8 and 58, Stella John Weasley. Percy celebrated his second wedding anniversary, marking 2 years since the sun had risen twice. He and Penello welcomed their first child, a healthy boy born under the auspicious light of 2 suns. This event broke the couple's solitude, introducing a new member to their family. Born at Silver Cross Hospital, he was the second child of the Weasley family's 3rd generation. As the son of the world's most powerful headmaster and foreign minister, his birth was destined to be extraordinary, drawing the attention of the entire country. Uncle Fred, in his characteristic manner, sent a car full of prank toys and affectionately embraced the child, hoping to prevent him from becoming as serious as his father. You were born under the light of 2 suns, Stella, bearing stars and the greatest name in the world, he said. John, echoed Uncle George, who was identical to Fred in appearance and fondness for teasing. Joining in, Uncle Fred repeated, Stella, Stella, Stella. The twins shared a smile, knowing well their place among the top 10 wealthiest individuals in the Wizarding City. Their family's wealth was so vast that Uncle Fred's children played with gold as if it were mere sand. However, there were moments when little Weasley would catch Fred or George in a reflective state, gazing at the sun that had shone since his birth. The twins often dressed alike to confuse little Weasley, who struggled to tell them apart. Their shared Patronus, a magpie, only added to the confusion. Whenever little Weasley mistakenly identified one for the other, he could see a hint of loss in their eyes, followed by a whisper, "Yeah, he's not John." Little Weasley, unaware of who John was, also did not grasp the significance of his own name. With both parents occupied by their careers, little Weasley was raised at his grandparents' home, the Burrow. The house was a place of wonder, with ghouls occasionally heard scratching at the ceiling and walls. Grandfather Arthur, now semi-retired, adored the child, while Grandma Molly would affectionately touch his nose with her flower-coated fingers. Uncle Bill, often forgetful of his keys and sporting hair reminiscent of the Beatles, was a gentle and knowledgeable presence. Unlike the mischievous twins, he did not play pranks on little Weasley. His collection of books was vast and complex, some even dangerous. After a scary incident involving a book and its aggressive vines, Uncle Bill took it upon himself to educate little Weasley, though these lessons usually ended with the child dozing off. One day, little Weasley overheard Uncle Bill mutter, "It's not those stars after all." The child, familiar with the beautiful stars visible from the rooftop at night, yearned to grasp them, much like trying to pick out minced meat from bolognese noodles. Yet, just as his mother Penello would scold him for attempting to pick out the meat, he could never quite reach the stars. Uncle Charlie, little Weasley's favorite, was unlike anyone else. More adventurous than the twins and less scholarly than Uncle Bill, Charlie was always a source of excitement. Whenever he visited, he brought a bag full of delicious candies and tales of his life as a dragon rider, a prestigious and rare position recognized by only 20 individuals in the entire wizard city. Charlie would take little Weasley to play Quidditch, where they excelled on the open field. Their bond was special, filled with adventure and the promise of endless skies to explore. A pair of werewolves, a father and his son, were evenly matched in strength and skill. Unlike others who sought the spotlight, young Weasley preferred the role of a chaser, enjoying the camaraderie and teamwork it entailed. Uncle Charlie, aware of this preference, was delighted. He valued children who could express their own desires and interests, which only made young Weasley admire him more. Whenever a bludger left him bruised, young Weasley would secretly visit Silvercross Hospital for treatment, careful to hide his injuries from his mother, Penello, to avoid being confined to the house over the weekend. Uncle Charlie's visits were always a highlight, though sometimes he had to leave, and in his absence, young Weasley was left in the care of Uncle Ron. To young Weasley, Uncle Ron seemed as prone to misfortune as he was. Despite Uncle Ron's playful threats to bribe him with snacks, young Weasley couldn't help but notice how he was often the butt of jokes, especially from his twin uncles. On one occasion, Uncle Fred tricked Uncle Ron with a fake letter from Aunt Granger, causing Uncle Ron to rush over in haste. The prank led to a fallout, with Uncle Ron refusing to speak to Uncle Fred for months, though young Weasley knew Uncle Fred would sometimes impersonate Uncle George to reconcile with Uncle Ron. Uncle Ron, an Auror stationed abroad, often traveled outside the wizarding city. Young Weasley knew that Uncle Ron's heart longed for London, where Aunt Granger resided. Aunt Granger, a smart woman with her brown hair always tied in a bun, seemed oblivious to Uncle Ron's affections. Whenever she was around, she had a dazed effect on her observers, much like the twin uncles lost in her presence. Uncle Ron, in particular, would silently watch her from a distance, lost in thought. Aunt Ginny, as busy as young Weasley's parents, was a star player for the Holyhead Harpies before an injury led her to become the librarian of the wizarding city. Unlike Aunt Granger, Aunt Ginny was vibrant and lively, often seen traveling with the trance-like Ms. Lovegood and occasionally receiving flowers from Uncle Potter. Uncle Potter, the chief Auror, was the most formidable wizard young Weasley knew, capable of taking down 10 dark wizards single-handedly. His duties often kept him away from the wizarding city. One Christmas, Uncle Potter had to leave abruptly to pursue villains, leaving young Weasley to ponder the necessity of such actions in a world that seemed safe to him. His father, returning home late even on Christmas Day, was always patient with young Weasley's inquiries. When asked why there were so many villains outside the safety of the wizarding city, his father would gently caress his hair and speak nostalgically of the darkness that shied away from the light, fearing its own ugliness would be too exposed. His father, unable to reveal the complex magic protecting their realm, would instead touch the ring around young Weasley's neck, sighing deeply before uttering, "Stella John Weasley. Your name carries 3 stars. I wish for you to be him, yet I fear it too." The weight of the name was immense, a burden of expectations and legacy. As time marched on, the memories of a young boy who stood up for himself in his first year at Hogwarts faded, along with the tales of the Master of the Star Club. Like the legends he left behind at Hogwarts, he became a myth in the wizarding world. Young Weasley, confused yet intrigued by his father's words, could only blink in response, unaware of the path that lay ahead. Stella John Weasley's hair was fiery red, reminiscent of flames, so vibrant that it seemed to burn the eyes of those who looked upon it. A line of freckles adorned the bridge of his nose and cheeks, his features soft like his mother's. However, his eyes were a reddish-brown, akin to those of a salamander, reflecting a sun that never sets in the wizarding city. Next year, Stella, along with his 4 brothers, would enter university. Amidst his studies, Stella, driven by curiosity, finally broke the silence with an innocent question. "What is that?" Percy looked up, his face framed by a beard that signified his age. The light from the tower seeped through the gaps in his hair and beard, reminiscent of an old friend's reassuring wave. "My friend," he said, "a star that never fades or falls." Yet Stella, with the straightforwardness of youth, retorted, "It clearly looks like the sun. Why do you call it a star?" "Because the sun is a star that burns brightly," Percy explained. "But Dad," Stella interjected, "all stars are different." This narrative unfolds in the C. Conned Extra chapter, telling the story of the Weasley family's third generation. Stella John Weasley, a child seen as a star among stars, was not perfect. He lacked the wisdom to decipher complex ancient magical texts and the ability to distinguish the twins. Despite the high hopes placed upon him and the 3 stars in his name, Stella was not the stars themselves. Fearful of the Hogwarts Night Stalker, yet yearning for the King of Hogwarts, he would chase after legends on the Quidditch pitch, seeking the mythical footprints of the stars. As a member of the second ancient clan, with eyes resembling those of a salamander, Stella was destined to be brave and protective of his friends, embodying the spirit of Gryffindor. He faced challenges from the formidable Dean Snape, learned about herbal medicine from Professor Longbottom, and was occasionally invited to savor delicacies from Abbott's private kitchen. His adventures in tasting Professor Hagrid's rock biscuits, which were notoriously tough on the teeth, and fostering a curiosity about the golden flame. Stella's journey also led him to befriend Grop and embark on adventures atop Zowu in the Forbidden Forest. He encountered Professor Lettisley from Ilvermorny and young Uncle Edgar during the school league. His interactions with the little princess of the Malfoy family left him blushing, and he admired the beautiful Ms. Delacour. Although occasionally disheartened by Diggory's academic prowess, Stella found friendship and camaraderie. He is Stella Weasley, a child of promise and adventure, navigating the complexities of the magical world with the heart of a Gryffindor. Chapter 9, Most Valuable Player. Welcome to the 424th Quidditch World Cup. The air was alive with cheers, applause, and the dazzling bursts of fireworks. Amidst this vibrant atmosphere, flowers soared through the air, and the voices of Ernie Macmillan and Ludo Bagman, the director of Magical Games and Sports, resonated from the enormous commentary table suspended above the Quidditch pitch. Together, they formed a dynamic commentary duo for the highly anticipated final match between England and Bulgaria. This final is a clash of titans, with both teams relying heavily on their seekers to clinch the game, Ernie began. Turning to his co-commentator, he asked, "Mr. Bagman, as a former star of the England team, what's your take on the pivotal role of the Seekers in today's match?" Ludo Bagman, who had once donned the England jersey as a beater, prided himself on his unmatched batting skills, despite not achieving significant success during his tenure. Age had broadened him, but his passion for Quidditch remained undiminished, even after losing his prized Comet Series broom to gambling. He was, by his own admission, a betting man through and through. The outcome of this match will undoubtedly hinge on the Seekers. Both teams have shown competent but not exceptional chasing skills. Recall the quarterfinal match between Bulgaria and Egypt. If Victor Krum hadn't been in top form, Bulgaria would have faced a significant defeat, Bagman analyzed. This year's Quidditch World Cup, held in the Wizarding City, was not only a highly anticipated event, but also a historic milestone. Victor Krum, having participated in 2 previous World Cups without clinching the championship, faced what might be his last chance to overcome his past disappointments. At 26, time was not on his side, given the physical demands of Quidditch. Victor Krum is at a critical juncture. If he doesn't seize this opportunity, he may never get another chance to compete in the World Cup, Ernie remarked, highlighting the urgency of Krum's situation. Shifting the focus to England's Seeker, Ernie inquired, "Mr. Bagman, any thoughts on England's Seeker?" Bagman's expression darkened. "He's a disaster," he muttered bitterly. Ernie chuckled. "It seems you have quite a grievance against him." "That man. Every time I think he's about to secure a win, he fumbles. Every bet I place, every match I watch, I end up disappointed," Bagman exclaimed, pounding the table in frustration. "It's as if he's cursed. Has he offended the Quidditch gods? I've never seen anyone so unlucky. If I were his team's manager, I'd have him training with the Golden Snitch day and night, even during meals. That's the only way he could make amends," Bagman ranted. "Let's keep our cool, Mr. Bagman. Remember, we're live," Ernie interjected, attempting to calm his co-commentator as they struggled to maintain professionalism in the commentary box. Meanwhile, the tension from the commentary box seeped into the England locker room, where the platinum-haired seeker Draco Malfoy scowled menacingly. Though not the team captain, his formidable presence was enough to keep even the captain at bay. "My wife, Astoria, is in Silver Cross Hospital today. She'll be watching our game on TV," Malfoy declared, his voice sending shivers down his teammates' spines. He continued with a warm smile that belied his sinister tone. "Anyone who causes me to lose face, especially in front of my unborn child, will be persona non grata in the Malfoy family for life." The chaser captain's hands were slick with sweat as he swallowed nervously, understanding the gravity of Malfoy's warning. "Worked very hard, right?" Malfoy scoffed in response to the question about hard work. "Training for 15 hours a day, and you call that hard work?" His tone was incredulous, almost mocking the notion. The coach, overwhelmed and exasperated, questioned, "Who is his father? Do you expect me to discipline him?" Ever since Malfoy joined the England team, the coach felt sidelined. He had envisioned his team members enjoying their time abroad, perhaps indulging in leisure activities. Instead, Malfoy transformed them, turning their lax attitudes into rigorous discipline, their bodies from flabby to muscular. The entrance to the Quidditch pitch was guarded by two imposing figures who wouldn't hesitate to use their sticks on anyone attempting to leave early. The coach himself had been on the receiving end of their discipline multiple times, once so severely that he couldn't even make it to the restroom in time. Under Malfoy's tyrannical training regime, the team, once considered underdogs, made it to the finals. Malfoy earned the title of Quidditch Tyrant, demanding victory not for glory, but as a gift for his unborn child. As the players entered the pitch, forming a triangle formation that soared over the stands, the crowd's reaction to Malfoy was mixed, with many cursing him. Despite the animosity, the spectacle continued with a fire dragon lighting up the sky, its flames bursting into fireworks. The Bulgarian Velas added to the spectacle, captivating the audience with their beauty. The match promised a showdown between Malfoy and Krum, two top seekers. Harry Potter, watching from a wizarding bar in Edinburgh, couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions towards his former rival. Despite their past, Harry silently rooted for Malfoy. Meanwhile, at Silver Cross Hospital, Astoria Greengrass faced a dire situation. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Greengrass, were consumed with worry, praying for her safety and the well-being of their grandchild. Astoria's health was precarious, revealing underlying issues that became apparent after her Quidditch activities. As the game reached its climax, England trailed behind. The weather turned, making the search for the snitch even more challenging. Malfoy, anxious and distracted by thoughts of his wife in the hospital, was desperate to conclude the match swiftly. The pressure mounted, and the atmosphere was tense, reflecting the gravity of what was at stake both on and off the pitch. Not a trace of the golden snitch was in sight when suddenly Krum made his move. Was it a feint, or was he serious? Malfoy's mind raced as he followed suit. It was Krum's fake move. Malfoy was fooled, Ernie exclaimed, his voice filled with excitement. Krum's Wronski feint had tricked Malfoy, sending him crashing into the quagmire below. The game was momentarily paused to assess Malfoy's injuries. "Go on," Malfoy declared, standing up and retrieving his broom. His determination was fueled by the thought of his children, who awaited the triumph of their champion. Despite the throbbing pain in his right foot, he persevered. Krum, once an idol, was now a rival on the same stage, giving Malfoy all the more reason not to lose. Krum acknowledged his resilience. "You are a worthy opponent, Draco Malfoy." "I hope you'll still be as gracious in defeat," Malfoy retorted with a cold snort. The game resumed, escalating into a fierce battle. Meanwhile, at Silver Cross Hospital, a dire situation unfolded. "No, the curse has been activated within the pregnant woman's body. Use the emerald potion. It's no use. It can't be stopped." "This is a blood-borne curse." The therapists were on the brink of despair, facing the blood-borne curse that lay dormant, ready to strike like a venomous snake, threatening to consume both mother and child. Astoria, drenched in sweat and pain, murmured, "Draco." Back at the match, Malfoy's attention was momentarily diverted by the thought of his wife, but it was then that he spotted the elusive golden snitch. Malfoy moved. He didn't hesitate, Ernie announced, his voice filled with excitement as Malfoy spotted the snitch amidst the rain, making it even more elusive, reflecting off the raindrops and blending into the hazy weather. The snitch darted cunningly from the sky to the ground, weaving above the auditorium and below the commentary box, with the audience's voices fading into silence as they watched the chase, holding their breath. Malfoy and Krum, each with their own reasons for not accepting defeat, employed every trick in their arsenal, their brooms colliding and spinning in a desperate attempt to close the distance. The golden snitch seemed to mock their efforts, its movements unpredictable and elusive. The rain-soaked goggles did little to aid Malfoy's vision, which was fixed solely on the golden glow of the snitch. Despite the pain and exhaustion, Malfoy's determination only grew stronger. "No, I won't allow it," he vowed as the snitch made another deceptive turn. Krum, usually steady in his approach, noticed Malfoy's relentless pursuit out of the corner of his eye. Malfoy, driven by desperation, executed a daring maneuver. "It's here! Wick arc!" Ernie shouted, as Malfoy's firebolt bent at a breathtaking angle in a last-ditch effort to capture the snitch. The audience was spellbound, their breaths held in anticipation. Malfoy's motivation transcended personal glory. It was for his children, his wife, and the honor he cherished. "For eternal glory," he whispered, his fingers inches away from the snitch, yet it seemed as distant as ever. Back at the hospital, the dormant curse claimed victory over the healer's efforts, threatening the lives of both mother and child. The therapist, defeated, sighed, informed the family. In the magical world, as in all others, some battles are lost, leaving behind a trail of regrets. Inevitable. This is the truth. Even a wizard's hospital cannot guarantee all cures. The door of the operating room swung open, revealing a long, narrow, and empty corridor. Astoria's eyes fluttered open, her beautiful blue eyes capturing the blurry and mysterious golden light. She raised her hand slightly, but it lost strength and slowly dropped, a distance that cannot be crossed. The unwillingness in Malfoy's eyes was palpable. "You have to come again and again and again," he roared angrily, flying out of the broom's range. "Why should I give up on something that is right in front of me? Grab it. Hands up." "What is pain? It's something you've been accustomed to for 10 years. Those are the tears you've shed, looking up at others from the quagmire, refusing to be crushed. Pain? That's just the nutrient to become stronger, a stepping stone in Malfoy's pursuit. The proud stars should emerge from the mire. We came from a quagmire. We long for power. We are full of ambition. We are strong and calm. We hold ourselves gracefully. We never regret. We are Slytherin. Greedy, selfish, elegant. Glory to Slytherin." Astoria pointed with her lowered hand. The golden color slowly descended onto her palm, soft like marshmallows. It followed her palm, penetrating her body and entering her heart. The dormant bloodborne curse seemed to have encountered its nemesis and fled in terror. "I guess I was a little neglectful, Astoria." A chuckle rang out, and a smile appeared on Astoria's lips. "It's a girl. I hope she won't be like her father." "Yes, how can you forget? This child is the offspring of 2 stars, carrying the blood of the Star Society. She has the warmest gaze in the world and will bask in the warmest sunshine in the future. Bless the Witch King. My child will be safe. Praise the Witch King." It was nothing short of a miracle. The therapist's departure halted as the sound of the instrument beating resumed. At this moment, the curse was stripped away, a phenomenon that can only be described as miraculous. On the badge Astoria wore on her chest, the stars transformed into a sentence. "Bless you, Astoria." Malfoy plummeted from the sky, smiling even as he faced the prospect of falling from a great height. Krum was too far away to rescue him. Was this to be a tragedy? But no, Malfoy was caught, not by a single individual, but by the audience. Each wizard used their bodies and arms to form a net to catch Malfoy. The audience, who had despised the tyrant on the court, refrained from hurling insults. Instead, they watched the man amidst them, witnessing the birth of a new era. Gold was lifted up in the right hand, and the cheers were overwhelming, like a tidal wave. Krum ceased flying and looked on, harboring no regrets. Losing to someone like this was worth it. The underdog Quidditch team had fought their way from the bottom to the World Cup stage and captured the Golden Snitch. This victory would be etched in history. "Addo, did you see that?" Malfoy, covering his eyes with his left hand to hide his vulnerability, shouted, "I succeeded." Despite Malfoy's despicable nature, their selfishness was always directed toward their family. Harry stood up and cheered along with everyone else in Edinburgh. The game had ended. England won the championship, and Malfoy broke the curse. After the game, he visited the hospital, where he saw his parents and the green grasses. Amidst the blessings, he yearned to hear just one sentence. "She's proud of you," Astoria, leaning on the bedside with maternal brilliance and love on her face, holding the fragile baby in her arms, smiled. "My champion." In that moment, Malfoy discarded the trophy and the medal. He had earned a far greater title, father. Holding his child carefully, he felt more fear than he ever had holding a trophy. The notorious tyrant on the court broke all curses that day. In 2002, he became the Quidditch World Cup champion and MVP player. In 2003, he won the top Wizard League championship, being the player with the most finishes. In 2004, he clinched the championship again and appeared on the cover of sports magazines. In 2005, he won 3 more titles. Draco Malfoy achieved consecutive championships, securing his place as the permanent number 6 jersey holder for Puddlemere United and earning induction into the Quidditch Hall of Fame. In 2006, despite being the Quidditch World Cup champion and MVP, he was turned down by the Falmouth Falcons due to an exorbitant transfer fee. The following year, he was celebrated as the most valuable player by a leading magazine and reclaimed the league championship. In 2008, he not only won the championship and the MVP award again, but also received the Mr. Quidditch award and had the honor of being the kickoff guest for the school-level league. Although he narrowly missed the championship in 2009, he was named the top Quidditch player of the century, securing the first place. In 2010, he announced his retirement after once again performing the legendary Wronski feint. His legacy was cemented with his induction into the Quidditch Hall of Legends, granting him lifetime free admission. Draco Malfoy's home is now adorned with various trophies, a testament to his dominance on the field, which eventually became a source of admiration and a positive reputation. As the most valuable player and the leading star of Puddlemere United, he has become a legendary figure in the Hall of Legends. Now, he sets aside his achievements to bask in the eternal glory of his family life. Standing in the knocked-up garden, Malfoy enjoys ice cream with his daughter Addo. His face lights up with a smile as his platinum blonde-haired daughter runs towards him. This moment encapsulates his eternal glory. Family. The third extra chapter reveals a rich narrative. Draco Malfoy, once not considered a genius and overshadowed by another, faced numerous setbacks. Time and again, he was beaten down, yet he rose from adversity, transforming each failure into a stepping stone towards his ultimate victory. The championship, once seeming like an elusive curse, became his through perseverance and the birth of new life, breaking the chains that bound his heart for a decade. Love, in its many forms, as a father, a husband, and a son, propelled him forward. Draco Malfoy embraced his identity, a Slytherin known for his selfishness, yet he chased and ultimately became glory itself. As Astoria Greengrass's husband and Alice Malfoy's father, he shines brightly among the stars, a testament to his journey and transformation. Chapter 860, Delacour's Daughter. In the manner of ancient French aristocrats, glasses of wine clinked in celebration. Among the attendees were influential figures, vast landowners, maritime gentlemen commanding fleets, and political upstarts. Despite their varied backgrounds, they shared a commonality. They were all on the brink of death, seeking refuge in what could be considered a Muggle counterpart of an ancient alliance. The allure of the resources within this circle attracted the wealthy and powerful. Richard Arroway, a marquis by ancestral honor and the country's largest landowner, was a notable noble at this banquet. Accompanying him was a noble from a smaller nation. In an era of diminishing noble power, this gathering served as a nexus for the aristocracy. "A city needs landmark buildings," remarked Helmut, a knight adorned in opulent attire, standing beside Richard. "Cannes is a place for entertainment, Marquise." Richard responded noncommittally. "Helmut, I understand your perspective, but you must also grasp my predicament." "Of course I'm aware," Helmut replied with a smile. "The once glorious Aru and your reluctance to part with your legacy, Marquise, is understandable. However, I hope to change your mind." Producing a badge from his pocket, adorned with a wand and a star, Helmut caught Richard's indifferent gaze. "I'm willing to trade my share for the right to purchase, Marquis," he said, maintaining his smile. "I know your child needs your assistance. I hope this can be of help." The offer tempted Richard, who found himself in a dilemma. Despite his wealth, the badge, a key to acquiring a place in Delacour, was something money couldn't buy. The thought of his child's well-being softened his resolve. "I can promise you the choice of location on Cannes land," Richard conceded, grasping the badge as if it were a lifeline. Helmut, confident from the start, fetched 2 goblets from a waiter and toasted Richard. "Thank you for this opportunity." As the glasses chimed, Helmut's thoughts lingered on the banquet's underlying theme, the legendary Miss Delacour. "I've yet to encounter the famed Miss Delacour," he mused, sipping the rare red wine. "Marquise, having met her, what is she like?" "Are you scheming against Miss Delacour?" Richard eyed him warily. "She's not someone you can easily claim." "Of course not. I'm merely curious," Helmut reassured, intrigued by the figure who commanded Richard's respect. Rumors swirled around Miss Delacour's magical abilities, from healing the paralyzed and the dying to controlling the elements and vanishing adversaries without a trace. Her beauty was said to drive men to madness, forsaking all for her love. Some called her an angel, others a demon. Helmut pondered these tales, his gaze drifting to the second floor. The banquet, and even the badge he offered Richard, revolved around Delacour. Opting for potential gains over personal use, Helmut leveraged his health for a greater advantage. Richard, having personally encountered Miss Delacour, held insights that Helmut sought after hearing his recount. "I don't know what legends you have heard about her, but any tales of her beauty and mystery are understated," Richard began, his voice slow and deliberate. "She is the most beautiful person I have ever seen. I swear, if I were 20 years younger, I would forsake my wife and children for her and bestow upon her all my lands." He paused, a reflective look crossing his face. "I once believed she was an angel sent to save my life as I teetered on the brink of death. But I know now she is not. Despite my pleas, she would not save my child." Richard's tone turned somber. "She is a just person, Helmut." He addressed the young baron earnestly. "When you meet her, you'll find yourself drawn to her. Her mystery wields a fatal allure that will captivate your heart. As a husband, I find it impossible to resist her beauty. It is only by embracing my roles as a father, a relative, and a blood relation that I can quell my restless heart." Helmut listened, skeptical of Richard's claims, yet the seriousness etched on Richard's face gave him pause. The legendary Lady Delacour, with her enigmatic magic and lethal beauty, had seemingly enchanted most of the nobles present, all drawn by tales of her allure. Reflecting on his own wife, Helmut found it hard to believe that any woman could compel him to abandon the love he held so deeply to chase after an unattainable dream. Gabrielle Delacour carefully fastened a radiant necklace around her sister Fleur's slender, elegant neck. The reflection in the mirror showcased 2 sisters of unparalleled beauty, surpassing even the most detailed paintings by renowned artists. Gabrielle, momentarily lost in admiration, exclaimed, "Sister, you are so beautiful." "You're equally beautiful, Gabrielle," Fleur responded, her smile capable of bringing men to their knees. She gently touched the priceless necklace, then affectionately held Gabrielle's hand. On her, the beauty of millions of jewels was personified, making any adornment seem mere embellishment. She embodied the divine masterpiece of the god of love, a vessel of all things wonderful. Fleur approached a jewelry box brimming with jewels, her attention drawn to a badge adorned with shifting stars, nestled in its own compartment atop a velvet lining. Her fingers lingered on the badge, her gaze filled with longing and memories as she caressed it. "The sun in the wizarding city, your light descends from the stars upon all wizards," she whispered, her voice soft. "Every day I pray and await the Witch King's descent from the tower. You know, Gabri, she's attending the university you founded next year," Fleur continued, her voice tinged with affection. "Draco has welcomed his second child, a son. Cedric's son shares his father's passion for school. Kim now teaches at Ilvermorny and frequently visits Durmstrang. And there are others." Fleur's voice trailed off as she spoke to the badge, knowing well she could reach out directly but choosing not to. understanding that the person on the other end was already aware of everything, like a constant light in everyone's life. "People are still waiting for you," she concluded, her thoughts drifting back to Beauxbatons and a first-year exchange student who had attempted to deceive with clumsy lies. "Actually, I know you're lying," Fleur said with a gentle smile, recalling how comical Miss Maxim looked when angered. Gabrielle, noticing her sister's deep reflection, gently interrupted. "Sister, it's time to go." Fleur paused, then nodded. "Gabrielle, please, put it on for me." Gabrielle carefully affixed the badge to Fleur's chest, understanding its significance to her sister, a symbol of adventure and companionship with the king. Fleur stood, her dress magnificent yet unencumbered, her silver hair elegantly styled, and her left hand adorned with nothing but a ring. Touching the ring, she gazed outside, silently communicating with the Witch King. "Look here, the magical world is moving towards the light." As Fleur Delacour stepped out, the nobles, including those of significant Muggle stature, bowed in reverence, captivated by her presence. Helmut gazed in awe at the embodiment of divine craftsmanship before him, instantly grasping the essence of Richard's words. No one could resist bowing to the noble Lady Delacour. Introducing a new chapter in our tale, we delve into the saga of Fleur Delacour. Esteemed among the ancient Delacour lineage, she has been the dream of many a noble, shining brightly as the foremost among stars. More than just family, she stood alongside John in the face of a fire dragon's pursuit, marking him with a kiss on the forehead. Fleur is a warrior at heart, her courage and wisdom a source of pride. She is the unwavering pillar of support for John, ready to stand by him through thick and thin. Her beauty is unparalleled, making her a victor in matters of the heart. Yet, she is never swayed by sentimentality, bold in her pursuits, and steadfast as a knight in her convictions. Fleur possesses the keen ability to perceive the oceans of those around her, offering counsel like no other. She has never been one to play the damsel. Rather, she is the noble daughter of Delacour, a master strategist and a fierce advocate for her king. Her affection for John is profound, seeing in him not just the formidable Witch King, but the boy who once roamed the halls of Beauxbatons. Her compassion for him, manifest in the tender kiss she bestowed upon his forehead, speaks volumes of her feelings. This gesture, born of a mix of pity and admiration, reflects the unique perspective of the elder Delacour towards the younger John. To her, the king perched upon his tower remains the student who once lost his way. Fleur's dedication to John's ideals is unwavering. She is Fleur Delacour, the first among stars, a wizard of remarkable talent and a valiant knight. Her story is one of love, loyalty, and unparalleled bravery.